in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grab some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the Film Guide Network on a magnificent Monday evening. Pardon the red face. Your boy has been laying mulch around the crib, Kirby, for the last 2 days.
I saw it. It looked good, man.
My back is broke. You know what I don't love about mulch? First, fades really fast. Second, you got to do it basically every year. Third, smells like literal horse shit for a good 3 days before it dries out. Had a bunch of mulch being laid, so got a nice tan, nice base coat of redness going on in the boy's face, even though I feel like at some point tonight your boy will get naturally red faced via a hot take or a rant at some point. Welcome in. Make sure you hit that like, thumbs up button, subscribe, and all that good stuff. I want to open with this. You have to be very, very careful with the habits you develop, right? Everyone talks about that all day. Hey man, develop good habits. Develop good habits. But how do we go about doing that? Well, first and foremost, you have to be very careful with how and where you choose to therefore develop, right? Be careful in developing bad habits. Well, we got to be careful in where we choose to go to develop, right? That makes a little bit of sense there. I want to take you back May 13th of 2020. I published an article on SI.com over on Dogs Daily. It was titled, quote, Georgia's Brock Vandagriff versus Notre Dame's Tyler Buchner. Tyler Buchner and Brock Vandagriff at that point both bordering 5-star status. Brock Vandagriff stamped 5-star, finished a 5-star. Tyler Buchner, not so much. We'll talk a little bit about that as we continue here. But I remember going into this experiment with my man Brian Driscoll, still on staff over at SI.com over with our Notre Dame site. I remember having the thought process going into this is like, bro, this is going to be nowhere near close. This little 6-foot kid from Southern California or wherever, California, whatever. This kid's tape ain't nothing like this 6'3", 210-pound, like thoroughbred horse that we've been seeing up here in Athens for like 4 years, right? Brock Vandagriff, y'all remember, he was like bordering on breaking state records, like all the great ones, winning state titles, all that good stuff. We all knew about him, but this Tyler Buchner cat, no way. That's what I remember thinking about going into this experiment, especially knowing like the pure raw athlete that Brock Vandagriff was. And then I watched Tyler Buchner's junior tape, right? And then I watched it going into this, right? And I loved it. I remember watching it and thinking like, being really taken back by the athlete that he was, the ball placement that he had, all that good stuff, but really in particularly the athleticism. So much so that I wrote this. Now remember, guys, Brock Vandagriff, freak athlete, still is, right? Still was or was and still is. Here's the quote from the article, again, dated May 13th of 2020. It's a real throwback here. I think that Brock Vandagriff is a 4'6" runner and an 11'2" 100-meter guy. Quote, I'd take Buchner in terms of athletic ability. He's more fluid of a runner, whereas Vandagriff can appear tight at times in open field. Neither are primary runners, but if you ask me who's more likely to break an ankle or two on his way to a 60-yard touchdown run in college, I'd take Buchner. So that was the tape I remember watching, thinking like, damn, we all know the athleticism score that Brock Vandagriff has. We all know the lore that he has. Even going into this year, his first year starting in Kentucky. But even dating back into high school, I was thinking this Buchner kid must have been some supreme athlete, right? I kind of liked it. I at no point thought he was going to be better than Brock Vandagriff, but simultaneously, at no point did I think Tyler Buchner was going to be something that was a failure in college or something that did not work at the quarterback position based off the junior tape. And then he shows up at the Elite 11. And this is where development plays a key role, Curb. Mm-hmm. He shows up at the Elite 11, and all of a sudden, this like new motion, this new delivery started up. And I vividly remember it was down to the buckle, right? Down to the waist, up over to 3/4 like this, head pull, body pull away, lean, snatch this way. Like almost like to the buckle, then Phillip Rivers, yank like this. Almost like you're like not fluid at all. You're trying to like short arm a slider almost in baseball. It was really, really ugly. He did not perform well at the Elite 11, I believe, on a consensus. And rarely is there ever a consensus across all of the platforms at an event like that. everyone ranked him dead last in that event the entire week. It was like that. Like Rivals, Sports Illustrated, 24/7, and whoever else was up there, boom, the easy decision, Tyler Buchner last. That's how bad it was. It continued to be that bad in terms of throwing mechanics and performance and all that good stuff at the quarterback position moving forward throughout his college career. It just did not formulate on that level. It is the development minus in this category that you have to be paying attention to, right? Particularly with quarterback development and quarterback projection. However, I nailed the athleticism score because he's coming back to Notre Dame after taking a year off to play lacrosse, going to continue to play lacrosse, but he's coming back to the Notre Dame football team as a wide receiver, Curb. And honestly, I think this is going to play out better for his skill set. I'm not saying he's going to play in the NFL at wide receiver, but he's got a higher chance of making an impact on a roster as a wide receiver based off the athleticism that I saw in high school and beyond, right? He's still a lacrosse player at the high college football level. I think he has a much higher rate to make an impact on the roster in a positive way at receiver than he does even at the quarterback position.
Well, yeah, I mean, it seems like his days of making an impact or having a chance to make a major impact at the quarterback position are kind of over. And so why not use that athleticism that you have to maybe play a different position? Like, there's not a lot of guys in the world of sports or football, at least, that can do this, where it's like, hey, it doesn't work out at this one position. Why don't you play a completely different position? So I hope it works out for him because he's got the athleticism to do it.
All right, so I think there's only two options. Like, because everyone, if I were in the Buchner camp, I'd be looking for some blame, right? Like, where did this go wrong, right? So, hey, how does this newfound motion, which was the obvious problem? Again, you watch the junior tape and it's like, holy shit, this is going to be something special. And then it just kind of fizzled out at the quarterback position moving forward. The athlete didn't. The movement skills didn't. The height, weight, and speed of this athlete did not change. So what changed and how did it change? I think when we're talking about like the smoothness, I call it the stroke, but y'all hey-yo me every time I talk about that. But the stroke, the throwing motion of throwing a football, I think changes for two reasons. And you can debate or you can talk to me about this, Kirby, and think about your thoughts here. But I think it changes for two reasons. One is a medical reason, right? We have gotten hurt, something in our shoulder or something in our mechanics, something in our hip, something in our foot, something has caused us to change the delivery and the motion of our throwing mechanics in order to produce results. Most of these issues come in season, right? A player gets banged up, his shoulder starts hurting or his left hip starts hurting. So we start making adjustments in our throwing motion to avoid pain, just to continue to play. Sometimes those things don't come out. Sometimes they stick. They're there forever. For the rest of the time, your throwing motion is that way. Okay, that is one reason why a throwing motion changes. The other reason is coaching related. Some throwing mechanic guy, some quarterback coach, some guru went in there, started messing when he probably shouldn't, and jacked some shit up. And then you are forever stuck that way unless we can work your muscle memory back out. But sometimes these throwing mechanisms and bad habits, they just don't come back out. Sometimes they are there and they are stuck for good. This seems to be like one of those. So one of the two in this situation, injury, right? I can't predict that or change that or control that. You get hurt, we start making adjustments in order to continue to compete on the football field. Life is life. That is that. You are a football player. We have to, that is that. We have to avoid that at all costs, but we can't predict that. We can't control that. The other stuff on the coaching end, biomechanics, just going to the wrong guy, he teaches some bad shit, and it getting stuck there. We can control that. That's the only thing that we can control, right? How and where we develop is about all we can control in this situation. So got to watch out for those things. Welcome in. We do indeed have a loaded show for you guys tonight. We are streaming both live on YouTube and on Twitter. Want to see a little competitive battle there, Curb. That's what I want to see. I want to see the YouTube folks, as we would call it, the OGs of these streams.
Right.
I want to see those guys start to load up in numbers and start battling these newcomers because Twitter went popping the other day. I don't know if Twitter's going to continue to do the results that it did. Maybe that was that Elon Musk kind of tease. You know, he liked to do that every once in a while, stoke engagement. I'm not claiming anybody does any type of engagement farming or anything like that. But if anyone were to do it, it would probably be Elon. Amen?
Amen. It's looking about 50-50 right now.
Yeah, it's looking about 50-50. So let's see what we can do. Make sure you're hitting that like, subscribe button, all that good stuff, showing your support however, wherever, right? If you missed any portion of tonight's broadcast, we are readily available however, wherever you get your podcast. Give us a 5-star rating over there as well. We're going to talk about that College Football Hall of Fame ballot that is absolutely slam-packed and loaded. I think it's pretty loaded, but it's pretty easy to get to 12. I struggled to get to 13, 14, 15. It's not like one of those years where there's 20 names on the ballot and you got to dwindle it down to 12. We'll talk a little bit about that. The ESPN released their college football power index today, and we'll take a look at that. It's plenty of talking points in that release today, particularly around the wins and loss projections. I think there's a lot to take away from that tonight. Dabo Swinney's back at it. We'll talk a little bit about the top 10 rankings from the Pro Football Focus. And most importantly tonight, as you can see off the title, not that I am the most important, but I think the most important take that I will deliver tonight is about my prediction about how college football player acquisition will be moving forward. Essentially, recruiting. How recruiting will work moving forward with the new House versus NCAA lawsuit coming down, or at least I should say, I always forget the word settlement. That is the word. Settlements coming down from that lawsuit today. We'll talk a little bit about. But first and foremost, before we get any further, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. If you have not already, head over to prizepicks.com, use promo code Brooks. You'll get a 100% deposit match. Look, I'm not saying nothing, but it is contract season. So, hey, go over there, load up some logins, use that promo code Brooks, get just absolutely, fiending. Get your fix over there on Prize Picks, okay? Hey, that rhymed. I didn't even mean it.
Fix on Prize Picks?
Get your fix on Prize Picks. If you're fiending, if you're fiending,
I was about to say, you didn't say it this time.
Get your fix over on Prize Picks. All right, use promo code Brooks. You'll get a 100% deposit match today. Again, contract season. Okay, go boost some numbers. Go boost some signups for your boy over there. All right, that is that. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Let's get after it. College Football Hall of Fame ballot, Kirby. I did mine. I think I'm going to piss some folks off today, but it is what it is. Who wants to go first? So here's how we did this. We went through this 77 players on this ballot. You got to narrow it down to 12. Did you have any difficulties?
At first I was like, oh man, this is easy as hell.
Yeah, easy, smooth cake.
I was going down the left side. I was like, wait, there's an entire right side of this page. It got kind of difficult for me. There were a couple of names where I was like, do I think he should get in over? But overall, I was able to find 12 pretty quickly. There's 15 to 16 guys where they're like, oh yeah, they should be in.
I thought there was a 13. You're going to have to point me to 14, 15, and 16 on this list, okay? Because, a spoiler. Like Dallas Clark, I know how great Dallas Clark was in pro ball. I don't remember vividly Dallas Clark in college. Okay, so names like that. Okay, but anyways, how do you want to do this? Do you want to do your 12 ballot, my 12 ballot? These don't matter, so we can release them because no one gives a shit about our voting except for our viewers, which is great. Thank you all for being here. But how do you want to do this?
Yeah, you want us to run through yours? And
let's do it that way. I had
him on my list as well.
These are in alphabetical order, okay? I'm going to do it this way. I highlighted several of these names with a green dot, meaning hey, they should be no-brainers. Here we go. Aaron Donald, no-brainer. Mark Ingram, no-brainer. Sebastian Janikowski, don't know how he's still available. He was drafted as a kicker and was a Hall of Famer thusly in the NFL and had a great college career. Kellen Moore, no-brainer for me. Richard Seymour, no-brainer for me. Sean Taylor, Monte Te'o, Michael Vick. Those are 8 names for me on this year's ballot. I don't even think you have to run to the Google to check stats on. Okay, I think those are known, guaranteed. They made a drastic impact on college football. Hell, there's a Heisman winner in there.
See, I didn't have Monte Te'o on this list.
I just think you can't tell college football storyline without fake girlfriend.
Completely agree.
There's that.
Completely agree. The thing was, it came down between him and Takeo Spikes.
Yeah.
And Takeo Spikes did 2 seasons of that kind of production, where Monte Te'o really only did that for 1.
Okay, so we're gonna get into Takeo because he made my list. Okay. So he's next on the list. Do you know Takeo Spikes had a season where he had 136 tackles?
Yeah,
that's absurd.
The 2 seasons where he started for Auburn, they were both over 120 tackles.
Also, I'll give you $5 if you guess the number one thing that pops up when you search Takeo Spikes' name on Google.
Neck.
You get $5.
Let's go.
Takeo Spikes quote neck first Google search.
It's huge, man. It was even bigger when he was playing.
I'm just glad. Would you want a body part that's so noticeable that it's Googleable? And if there were one, is the neck the best thing to have? Because Peyton Manning's got forehead. You don't want to. Lord knows you don't want your nose to be in that mix.
Next, probably
fat. Like fat is a body. No, it's not a body part, but like it's a body related Google search that is attached to your name that would often be associated with some humor.
Maybe like hands.
I mean, big hands.
I bet he's hell with a tailor, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, his big ass arms and that.
Anyways,
neck.
Monte Te'o definitely makes my list here with the fake girlfriend. And just because he had a good enough season. Now, do you think he was at the Heisman because due in part of the girlfriend story, or do you think he was really on his merit, a defensive player at the Heisman ceremony? Because if you're a defensive player at the Heisman ceremony at any point in your 3 or 4 year college career, I think you should automatically be a Hall of Famer. That's my opinion of college football.
Take. That's a fair take.
That's so hard to do.
I don't disagree with that at all. I don't necessarily think that he was there solely because of his girlfriend. I think the Heisman campaign picked up a lot of steam because of that thing. But I think if you
girlfriend, good PR.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, his grandmother died too.
Points in the PR poll.
Well, because I remember it.
But she doesn't exist.
Right.
So just points in the PR poll.
Yeah.
And some stress.
Well, it played out because it was at first his grandmother died, and like his actual grandmother.
That was real though.
Yeah, and then it was like, oh, this is so sad, and then his girlfriend
compound the
died.
interest. We found out we were being catfished. Let's just kill her publicly.
Yeah.
Do you think that's how it happened, or do you think?
Did you watch a documentary?
Yeah, but it would just make him out to be this super, super big victim. I'm wondering from a PR play, Notre Dame finds out, hey, you're being catfished, bud. Here's how we're going to spin it. She died. No one has to know. And then they find out publicly. Somebody finds out it was actually a catfish. Well, how did this go down?
I remember it. The guy who was catfishing Manti Te'o was like, it was on his trail, so he's like, I got to kill this character off, and like he just killed her in a car.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That makes Manti Te'o out just to be a victim.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially what it was. I think
that's better than finding out you were being catfished. Hey, let's just tell the media she died and
yeah, no, that's not. That's what
that would be a little.
That's what the speculation is that happened. That was like, oh, that he did that to boost his season, but that's not actually what went down.
All right. So, anyways, back to my list. I got the guarantees: Donald, Mark Ingram, Janikowski, Kellen Moore, Richard Seymour, Sean Taylor, Monte Te'o, Michael Vick. All right, my other entrants are what do you call these candidates? They are selected here for me. Takeo Spike inductees. There you go. Me, not smart. Me, no words. I got Takeo Spikes in there. I got Deshaun Jackson in there.
Yep.
I have Graham Harrell in there, and I have Monty Bell in there. That is my 12.
Okay, so I went for Kenyon Barner over Monty Bell.
Garrison Hurst misses out.
Garrison Hurst does miss out. I think there is a season where there's a year where he'll eventually get in. He should get in. I mean, he was the second all-time rusher at Georgia after Herschel Walker for a long time. I think Nick Chubb or Todd Gurley caught that one of those, maybe both of them, but he's definitely one of those. But I went with Kenyon Barner over Monty Ball. Kenyon Barner was a dual threat. He had 1,000 returning yards his freshman year. Yeah, and then he had like 2,000 total all-purpose yards his senior year.
I don't know. Monty Bell went 1,800 twice.
Yeah, he did.
So I went with that one.
That's fine. I think you could. I think it's a toss-up between both. It's just personal preference.
I personally have a special place in my heart for Graham Harrell because of what I did on video games with my mans. So
that's fair.
And that Texas Tech offense.
Graham Harrell was one of those I highlighted that could be in it, but didn't make the cut. Marvin Harrison was also one. Josh Heupel, Garrison Hurst. I think a lot of those guys were like, they could be. They probably will be at some point, but I didn't pick them. I'm surprised you left out Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, shit. I knew I missed somebody.
Ooh, so who'd you dump off for Marshawn Lynch then?
Did he really do it like that, or did he just ride a buggy that one time?
No, he was cold.
He was cold?
Him and Aaron Rodgers were cold at Cal.
Well, I'll probably bump... it's a toss-up between the Cal guys. 2 Cal guys can't get into Hall of Fame in 1 year. Their football program is just too shitty. One of them's got to wait. So that's just the rules.
That's fair. I mean, Deshaun Jackson was an insane dual threat in the fact that he was a receiver and a returner while he was at
That's
Cal.
right.
So I think if you had to pick between those two, Deshaun Jackson should get the nod, but I put Marshawn Lynch in there.
Maybe I make Graham Harrell wait a year. He's got time.
Yeah.
Maybe I make Graham Harrell wait a year and put Marshawn Lynch in there. That's tough. I knew I'd forget somebody. 77 names on the list. My brain is guaranteed to miss somebody.
The other one, and I feel like...
James Laurinaitis?
Yeah. I feel like you have a strong opinion on this one. Michael Orr. I have him as in.
I mean, he's a good college football player. He's all SEC all 3 years?
Yeah, all SEC. Yeah. I believe he was a first round. He was a first round.
He was first round. 7th overall.
Yeah. So, I mean...
Something like that.
That's a pretty... And obviously, the entire story that goes with however manufactured that is nowadays.
The Tuies get a cut of his... do they, come out and, cut out, half of the statue? and take it with them.
They might contractually have some obligation.
That's what I'm saying.
The way they played him.
Probably like in the contract, we have to be on the plaque in italics.
Maybe, I don't know.
Right?
Who knows, man? Who knows what that kind of deal
It would be fitting that the fine print in that contract would then subsequently require fine print on his statues moving forward.
For sure. Does he have a statue in?
Nah, I don't know. I'm just kidding. But if he makes the Hall of Fame, you'd imagine he gets a bus, right? That is a subsequent, as a pseudo category of statues.
Maybe a street in Oxford named after him.
Yeah. And it just says or instead of road, it just says Tui. Yeah.
There it is.
There it is. We found it. All right.
I don't think there's any others that I had that you didn't. What about the coaches? What do you think here?
Man, it's a tough year. It's a tough year to be anybody on this coaching list not named, because they only get 2. There's 9 people up for the award. It's a bad year to be Larry Blakeney, Troy head coach from 91 to 2014. Also, by the way, I wish I could be 61% right or 61% good at anything and come up for the Hall of Fame. Like that is so Craig Biggio of coaching. You know what I mean? Craig Biggio, notorious compiler in professional baseball, made the Hall of Fame basically because you can't put anybody in the steroid era in there. Troy, lifelong achievement award. I don't mean to just put any bad look on Blakeney's career here, but you win 61% of your games, you're up for the Hall of Fame.
Well, I mean, when you do it at Troy,
but
and you stay at that program,
it wasn't like Troy was playing Mississippi State schedule, bro. Troy was playing Troy's schedule for 20 years. Yeah, but
you also have to assume that Troy automatically has 2 losses on their schedule no matter what, because they're getting paid $1 million to go get their heads kicked in by
This is fair.
By an LSU or a Georgia or some big power.
So we're going to give him 10 percentage points.
That's fine. I mean,
10 percentage points. 70% of your games is still better than Jim Carlin, who apparently won 60% of his games at West Virginia, Texas Tech, South Carolina. Our boy Pete. How do you pronounce Pete's name?
Calthon Senior.
Shout out to coaching in the 1920s. I'm sure it was tough.
11 ties.
my boy was out here dubbing up at Austin College and then finishing out at Texas Tech. Larry Coker, 64% of his games. Ralph Friedgen, I know I'm forgetting that name. He's actually a really known coach. If you win 60% of your games at Maryland, shouts out to you. Darryl Rogers, and of course Tommy Tuberville. Bad year to be all you guys because Urban Meyer and Nick Saban are on the ballot, and you can only pick 2. So you're just on it this year.
Do you think people
you get to tell your friends that?
Do you think people spite not pick Urban Meyer?
I don't think the coaching community or journalists in general care all that much about whatever happened on that bar stool in a bar in Jacksonville, Florida that one time. If that's what you're asking.
Well, I mean, that entire
or that whole Florida thing. I don't even think that gets tied to him. Matter of fact, the documentary was just like, hey, we did mat drills real hard and won some football games.
I really wanted to win.
I really wanted to win. And we had this Tebow guy who fit in despite the fact that he loved Jesus.
Yeah.
And don't mind that one video of that dude literally passing out during mat drills. Do you remember that during that documentary?
Throwing up, yeah.
No.
Oh, I remember.
This dude goes into this dude's like literally eyes rolling back into his head from exhaustion.
Yeah.
All by winning, baby.
It's surprising to see that Urban Meyer. Now, obviously, he didn't coach near as long, but Urban Meyer has a higher win percentage than Nick Saban.
The Bowling Green years were better than the Michigan State years. Is that what I'm assuming?
I'd have to guess. I mean, it's also like Nick Saban was at Toledo for a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, Nick Saban was consistently 9-3 at LSU. He had that one year, obviously, where you win the title. But other than that, LSU is a very I don't want to say modest because 9-3 is a good team, but they weren't a powerhouse. What?
I'm just reading the chat for a second. Sometimes I get behind and they throw me off when they throw in random facts or random thoughts or remembrance of facts. Any other thoughts on this coaching ballot stuff?
Do you think Tommy Tuberville will ever get in? I mean, you'd have to imagine he's been on the ballot for a while. He retired since what, 2016?
Is Tommy Tuberville, is his whole entire it's just one peak or one peak, right? Just the Jason Campbell years?
Maybe.
That's it?
What did Cincinnati...
And then he kind of turned Texas Tech around?
Wait, wasn't he with Ole Miss when they had Eli Manning?
I don't know.
Let me check.
But my football brain remembers Tommy Tuberville for that 1 year with Jason Campbell and them 2 really good running backs. That's how my brain remembers Tommy Tuberville.
Cadillac and who else was it?
Huh? Cadillac and Brown.
Yeah. Okay, let's see.
You looking it up? I don't want to transition without you looking it up.
Yeah, he played. No, he didn't. He didn't play under Tuberville.
Who's that?
Eli Manning.
Okay, yeah, that was Houston Nutt.
Yeah,
that you're thinking of.
Okay.
Never forget the name Houston Nutt, the head coach of Ole Miss.
Yeah,
you can't.
That's a last name.
It's impossible to forget that name. Anyways, let's move on.
I feel like you could spin that in a very Prize Pixie way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, you can figure that out. We have a super sub here. Hopes this help you get out of your mom's basement. Put us in one. It's a nice basement we got out here. Spin one back to where it normally is. You know what I don't know is truly and properly conveyed. No. Yeah, the big one. I don't know what happened there.
Someone's messed with my settings.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know if it's properly conveyed just how big this place is on camera. But yeah, mom does well. Mom did all right for herself. So shout out to Ma Dukes. There you go. I wonder how many people think I actually live in my mom's basement.
I don't know. Probably like
a good bit.
10%.
10%?
Yeah. I'm
giving at least 18%. You know who it is? It's the 21% of the Jamokes that watch this that don't subscribe. That's who it is.
Gotta be.
Got a bunch of people watching over on Twitter. If you can, at your spare time, okay? Next time you think about it, if you're scrolling through YouTube, give us a subscribe over there as well. Enough of the College Football Hall of Fame ballot. We're good on that. ESPN, I don't know why I say USPS. ESPN has come out with their Football Power Index. The Football Power Index, how would you explain this? They actually have a system, an explanation of the system somewhere.
It's a computer metric they have.
It's a computer model, right?
Yeah. Like, I don't know what it is, but basically it's not... We would just be better looking.
Is this like our boy jealous? Our boy Josh Pate's JP model or whatever he calls, but this one's public and out for everyone to see.
His is like an algorithm for betting.
Okay. That's like who would be favored neutral field type thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the JP model. This is basically a model that predicts your wins and losses, percentage chance that you make the college football playoff, percentage chance that you win out, 6-win percentage chances, the percentage chances that you win your division, percentage chances that you win your conference, yada, yada, yada. Has a bunch of different percentage chances and different models and outputs and all this good stuff, including a Football Power Index. I have a bunch of talking points here, Curb. Do you just want to go tit for tat here?
Yeah.
Or how do you want to do this?
I just figure out Football Power Index that measures a team's true strength and net point scale, expected point margin versus average points on a neutral field. So basically, if you put Georgia up against 130,
so this is the JP model?
Essentially, in a way.
It's a public JP model.
Sort of, yes.
With explanations of how they feel.
Yes.
Got it. Let's roll. There we go. First talking point I had, being the notorious chat proclaimed homer that I am. First thing that jumped out to me, Georgia's projected losses at 2.1. That's a bit high for me, lad. That's basically telling me they think Georgia's going to go 1-2 in their tough road games this year, because I don't see them winning or losing another potential game here.
I mean, I don't think there's a home game that they're going to lose at all. Like, you could theoretically somehow, some way slip up against Clemson, but there are 3 big games that you're having to circle on that list, and I don't think Kirby Smart's going 1-2 in them.
I don't think so either. So I would fade the model here in that one. What other things that stood out to you off the bat? I'm
just kind of surprised that there's only one team, and there's really essentially no teams that are projected to have 11 wins.
Yeah, no.
It's all like 1.8 losses, 1.9.
I was about to say, while we're there, I'll go ahead. That's one of my main talking points. The model basically shows like two tiers, and then Bama and Missouri. So the 2 tiers are 10-win teams based off the FPI. That's UGA, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Penn State, and Notre Dame. And then there's a group of 8-win teams, right? Oklahoma, Tennessee, Florida State, Michigan, LSU, Clemson, Ole Miss, Miami, Kansas State. There's a bunch of 8-win teams. And then there's this like random 9-win tier, which is Bama and Missouri. But basically, this model predicts a bunch of 10-win teams, no 11-win teams, no 12 or 13 or 12-0, 13-0 teams, and a bunch of 8-4 teams. That was really, really noticeable to me. That I think what it's telling me, Kirby, and what we've been talking about a little bit on this network as of late, is that most of this parity in college football has been created via transfer portals and all this stuff, but it's more importantly a balancing of rosters. Everybody's roster is slightly better at the top, and that middle level ceases to kind of exist.
Well, everyone's roster is slightly better, and they're also slightly less deep.
Yes.
Like, you don't have as many people on your two-man now, because most of the time, if you're on a two-man, you're going to transfer elsewhere. So every starting roster is getting elevated because you have really, really good players that are leaving elsewhere to go start, but you're also losing a lot on your two-man for the depth.
Correct. I think it's also a direct reflection of scheduling too, with no more divisions. I think everyone looks at their schedule this year and goes, "Damn!" At least in the SEC, "Damn, this is the toughest schedule we've had in decades." Florida says that. Georgia says that. Tennessee probably feels that way. Ole Miss, seems manageable. I think if I remember correctly. But there's a lot of Alabama seems kind of manageable if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Texas is pretty brutal. Texas is really brutal. You got Michigan in that mix on top of your SEC schedule this year. The Big Ten, there's a bunch of teams like Iowa that look up. This is your toughest schedule in a while. And for Christ's sakes, Iowa doesn't even get the tougher Pac-12 slate this year. Iowa gets UW and UCLA.
Yeah, I mean, you can't.
Next year they'll have to play USC and Oregon.
Right, and there's no West that you can go 8-4 and say, hey, we're at the Big Ten championship again.
So I think that's a direct sign to me. You see it in the FPI that it's basically showing you that, hey, I would expect a whole lot more teams to have multiple losses than singular digit losses, or one loss or zero losses this year.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to have many undefeated teams this year with all the realignment and teams adjusting to so many things. And on top of the fact that, like we said, rosters are more evenly distributed now, I don't think you're going to have an undefeated or a one loss. It's not going to be like last year where you had 5 teams where it's like, hey, these are all one loss undefeated teams. I don't think that's ever going to happen again.
Another talking point I had listed was the SEC having 11 of the top 20 teams, including Florida, who is 20th on this list, despite having a 48% chance, according to the FPI, of having fewer than 6 wins this year.
Ooh.
Which, I mean, if you go through it, it's like 6-6, 5-7. Good luck. There's a lot of coin flips, which is, I think, a byproduct of the SEC, but it's also a byproduct of their roster. Florida, it's going to be agonizing this year to be a Florida Gators fan, I would imagine, because they're going to lose a lot of football games closely.
Okay, I mean, so let's play it fair then. Say we give Florida, I don't know, Alabama's roster, which you consider as a good roster. What's their record then, hypothetically? Like, if you
give Florida Alabama's roster?
Yes.
In that same schedule?
Yes.
9-3?
Really?
Well, maybe 8-4.
Okay, so I mean, like,
the schedule's brutal.
Yeah, bro. It's not like it's. I want to say it's like it's not as much a reflection as to how poor Billy Napier has developed and recruited his roster as it is like this is just a terrible schedule.
Yeah, even if you go 5-7, if he has like an average margin of loss by like 7.5 points, do you bring him back?
I think
or do you cook him anyways?
Well, I think what it is I don't know if it's necessarily what your record is. I think you have to beat someone that really is like, hey, like this could be the program turning win. Like if you go in and you beat, I don't know, Georgia or Texas, any of those teams in your last 5 weeks where you go Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida
random
State,
upset win that shows your team's fighting their nuts off might save your job.
Like you're like, as hard as it is to go 5-0 to close out a season, it's easier to go winless to close out a season, but I mean, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State, they have to win one of those games, right?
Yeah.
Like you can see a world where they win at least one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I mean, like, yeah, 5-7 is not great, but I think if you get a marquee win on that, because Billy Napier hasn't really had that.
Is Smooth here? Our resident Bama fan, is he in the chat?
I have not seen Smooth yet.
I want to test the waters here, and this is, we obviously have a year one coach here at Alabama. Is 9-3 as projected by the Football Power Index? Is 9-3 a good enough season in year one to create some optimism on behalf of Kalen DeBoer? Or is 9-3 not good enough? What the hell? Did we get the right guy? Start panicking Tuscaloosa.
9-3 is going to put a bad taste in a lot of Alabama fans' mouths because you're so used to being in the thick of the national title. I mean, but let's face it.
If this plays out, they're in.
Hypothetically,
yeah, they would be ranked 7th probably.
Or not even that, but like let's also say this: like 9-3 is one loss more than Nick Saban did in 2022 with the first round.
Oh, that's so gold.
With the number 1 overall pick at quarterback and a first round running back, like in a slew of wide receivers that are much better than you had right now. So,
Georgia, I'm trying to find the losses. Yeah, I can't find 3 losses on that regular season schedule. That's not a hard schedule. Western Kentucky, South Florida, Wisconsin, Georgia at home, Vandy, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Knoxville, Missouri, at Baton Rouge, Mercer, Oklahoma in Norman, and Auburn. I can't find 3 losses.
There's
on
a
that
couple
slate.
of,
they better not. If they go 9-3 in that slate, I would be upset. But here's the deal, and I stumbled into this talking point. If they do end up 9-3 and don't make the playoffs, that's a different story and discussion off-season wise than if they're 9-3 and sneak into the playoffs and compete in the first round and get beat. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean,
totally different discussions.
I think, like I said, I think that you can't really get too mad at Kalen DeBoer for going 9-3 your first season because, like I said, regardless if you make the playoff or not, Nick Saban was 10-2 in 2022. With the first overall pick at quarterback.
Nick Saban ain't had that schedule though.
That's fair. I mean, that's true. But like, if you're going to look at it from a record standpoint and go, "Oh, we went 9-3 this year," like. You have to also look at it in like holistically. Okay, Nick Saban's done this before. Nick Saban, I believe he had 3 losses in 2019. Did he not? No, he had 2. So
I see Michigan as an 8-4 football team this year, maybe worse. Just like the FPI does, don't you?
I agree. I think
they nailed Michigan.
It's weird for as much as everyone in the media loved Michigan last year. It was like, this is an incredible team. It's an incredible story. The adversity they faced. It's very much now that the media is all of a sudden like, we don't really believe in this team. They've shown that through their statistics and their data. Now, obviously, this is a computer model, so there's no persona feelings that go into it, but you don't see anyone really tooting the Michigan horn this year.
I feel like Auburn fans would be disappointed in 7-5, at least based off preseason expectations there. But speaking of expectations, if this football power index is anywhere close to correct and Ole Miss is 8-4, buddy, that booster program is going to be fit to be tied, man. They're going to be pissed off if 8-4 is the result. I haven't looked at the Ole Miss schedule, but if the 4 wins are anywhere near the early part of the year, buddy, it's going to get worse than 8-4. Yeah. This thing could snowball. If you really have four losses somewhere on Ole Miss's schedule, if 2 of those come before October, that might be a 5-loss football team. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Like it's going to roll downhill quick. Well, I mean, that's their Ole Miss if it's this bad.
That's a game you play when you assemble a roster full of transfers. Like you don't have there's not as much a concept of a team and that culture that you have, whereas you get when you recruit in and develop through that. So, I mean, you've got a bunch of guys that are kind of thrown together. Now, they're extremely talented, and you can win with that. We've seen plenty of guys do that before. Dave Aranda almost won the Big 12. Mike Norvell almost went to the playoff last year doing it. But, I mean, you see what happens when those rosters are kind of put up against adversity and all the goals that you have are taken away from them. So that's something to be careful about.
You know my Lane Kiffin take.
Got the Florida?
He going to be at Gainesville this time next year, I think. So, if that were to play out, if they were 8-4 on his way out, you feel a whole lot better about him leaving Oxford than if he had just, finished 10-2 or 11-1 or, lost in a playoff round or whatever.
I mean, we can go way offside. We can sidetrack, but wouldn't he have taken the Alabama job? Do you think?
I don't think they even called him. Dude.
You don't think he got serious offers from them?
No, he made such a stink with brass in Tuscaloosa during his time there as an offensive coordinator. They never even picked up the phone.
That's fair.
I think Lane wanted that job.
Right.
I think Jimmy probably called Lane and said, "Hey, buddy, your name's not on the list. I got everybody on this list that they're interviewing, but you ain't him. You ain't one of them." I think that was you didn't get a phone call, because had he got a phone call, you bet your ass Lane Kiffin would be in Tuscaloosa right about now. So yeah, I think Florida is a good spot for him if he were to move.
You know what? One of my takeaways,
and it is an upgrade, right? You believe
Lane to Florida,
Florida over Ole Miss. Had to pick, knowing what he has right now at Ole Miss versus what he has at Florida. Because I can tell you right now, Billy Napier's butt recruits better better annually right now than Lane does at Ole Miss.
Your proximity of talent certainly.
Your 5-hour radius is through the roof, and your Lane Kiffin. You're going to recruit better than Billy Napier does, right?
Right.
And obviously, they have an ability to capitalize on name, image, and likeness, or at least the funds, right? It seems that way.
It's definitely a better. job.
Also, by the way, you have DJ Lagway.
Do you?
You would. You're Lane Kiffin. He's signed to Billy Napier, bro. He's sticking around if Lane Kiffin's the next move.
Okay. I think it's definitely a better job. I don't know by how much.
We got sidetracked.
We did. One of my biggest takeaways is that Oklahoma and Tennessee are basically like on par with each other. Both are predicted to go 8-4 and kind of finish in that 16.6, 15.4 range of FPI.
I'll make a gamble with you, and I don't know if you're willing to take it. But if this model has Utah projected anywhere between 75 and 8-4, if Utah goes 8-4 or worse, I'll kiss you right on the mouth.
Why would I take those?
I don't know.
Why would I take that?
I don't know. But I wrote it in the notes because I think that strongly. No way with the Big 12 schedule they go 7-5. We'll make it 7-5. If Utah goes 7-5, I'll do something. But I ain't gonna kiss a dude. But I'll do something.
As a proud member of the Film Guy Network, I would gladly nominate that bet for Jay Will because he's not here tonight.
Well, he's married now, so he can't be doing that.
Business. Business.
It was business, honey. I didn't like it.
I had to do it. My boss.
I had to do it. My boss made me. Now we got an HR violation,
bro. Who the hell is the HR department here?
It's probably Haley, right?
Yeah,
that's probably a conflict of interest.
Probably.
Give it 10 years, it'll be Carter.
How old would be in 10 years? Like 13, 14?
Maybe coming up on 14.
Can you be an HR?
Reasonable. Now, very persuadable at that age, especially with some cash. But
So you'd have to explain to your son, like, Carter, I kissed my employee on the lips because I made a bet.
It was a quick peck, though.
Listen,
it was a peck. Kiss sounds too much. It was a peck. I gave him a peck. It was on the lips. But it was because Utah went 7-5.
If Utah goes
if Utah goes 7-5, you should kiss a dude. You're so shocked.
I'll be more shocked if Utah goes 7-5 and somehow finds their way into the Big 12 championship and then somehow wins it.
The world would be so upside down if Utah were 7-5 first year in the Big 12 that straight dudes would be.
Greg Sankey
confused.
Greg Sankey would be beating down the door of the playoff committee if that happened. Can you imagine if a 7-5 Big 12 team got into this playoff mix while Greg Sankey's already like, hey, listen, we get 3 auto bids because these other conferences ain't worth shit.
More likely to be 6-6 as per the model predicts. South Carolina or Kentucky.
I'm going to go.
And the fact that they're paired in this model is a little bit weird to me.
I want to go Kentucky, but I think Kentucky's more likely to do better than 6-6, and I think South Carolina's more likely to do worse.
Correct.
Like it's. Are you?
But you have to nail it. Who's going 6-6?
Well, the thing is, are you going to assume South Carolina overachieves or Kentucky underachieves? I'll bank on Kentucky underachieving because
I would bank more on South Carolina being 5-7 than I would Kentucky being 7-5.
That's fair.
So I'm taking Kentucky more likely to be 6-6 because I think it's a stretch to say South Carolina gets to 500 this year. Right?
Yeah, I mean
that's assumed that basically they're going to have to. I think I looked that up. They're going to have to win one out of their last 4, which is a murderer's row, if I remember correctly. Look at that slate for me.
I'm looking at Kentucky's now.
Okay, I'll look up South Carolina. Okay. Why you have that?
So I mean, Kentucky's isn't like out of this world bad. You have obviously there's Georgia week 3, but then it's Ohio, Ole Miss, Vandy, Florida, Auburn, Tennessee. Looks like Marquette, Texas, and then Louisville, obviously. So I mean, like,
all right, here we go.
That's pretty manageable.
You got to find 6. So hold up your hands over there. Give me. All right, here we go. You got to find 6. Old Dominion. That would be 1.
All
right, Kentucky, LSU.
No.
Akron.
That's 2.
Okay, Ole Miss.
No.
Alabama.
No.
Oklahoma.
No.
A&M. No.
Could they?
Vandy. Give it to them.
You better.
You better. Missouri.
No.
You got 3 fingers up, big dog.
Oh.
Shane Beamer's ass so far fired.
Ooh.
So far fired. See ya, buddy.
So give me Kentucky. Did you hear the schedule?
I'm gonna go ahead and answer the chat's question before they ask it. I don't think that is a spot that Glenn Schumann would be looking at if South Carolina became available. What was your question?
I was asking, did you hear the Kentucky schedule? Because it's pretty manageable.
I was looking up South Carolina.
It's Georgia, Texas, and then your next hardest.
Just give me the automatic L's, and then the rest.
Automatic L's, Georgia, Texas, and probably Ole Miss.
The rest are manageable.
Everything else.
Kentucky finds a way to play one of those top 12 fringe teams tough every year and give them an L every year. I feel like
they do.
Stoops be doing that.
I mean, the only other top 12 fringe team on this list is Texas and Tennessee and maybe Louisville. Other than that, you've got Ohio. I don't even know who this is. Murray State, Southern Miss, South Carolina, Florida, Auburn. That's
Murray State catching a stray right there. I don't even know who this is.
Well, it's State. It's the M.
Dang, dude.
It's just an M, dude.
Can't even recognize them by logo.
Oh, come on, give me a break. It's Murray State.
It is indeed Murray State. Where's Murray State? If you had to guess, my guess is Kentucky.
The state of Murray.
Where's your guess? Murray State.
I'll say Tennessee for the hell of it.
Murray State is indeed in Kentucky. Bang!
Nice. Good job.
This guy, college football czar. I'm still, every once in a while you mess around and impress yourself. I'm still impressed by the Teddy Roosevelt callback from the other day.
That's
one of the coaches saved college football. You think you would remember the guy who saved college or football in general? It's the game of football, not just college.
Very rarely do I no offense to the show. Very rarely do I learn something historical in this show that I already didn't know. So props to you for pulling it out.
You'll learn something about football here. Yeah. But historical context, you're not going to
correct. I said, very rarely do I learn something historically that I didn't know.
I thought you were finna hit me with very rarely do I learn something from this show, and I was about to say, God dang, dude.
No, I mean
your day. You okay?
No, look. I use this show as much as a very good refresher as well. I forgot about that concept.
Hey, ain't no doubt about it. Where are we at? More thoughts here. I'm thinking best case Iowa goes 6-6 this year.
I'd have to look at the schedule.
They get UCLA and UW out of the Pac-12 mix, and then the rest of it is a bunch of really, really toss-up football games. Do you think they beat Nebraska this year? That's their last game of the year, and it basically epitomizes their schedule.
No, I think Nebraska might be a decent team this year.
All right, and then there's some guaranteed L's on there. They get Ohio State. I think they play Oregon this year. There's some L's. Do you think they get thumped up by USC this year? Or can they run the ball, tough out a game against Lincoln Riley?
I don't know.
All right. They don't play them, but I don't know why I asked.
That's a weird.
I just told you.
That's such a weird matchup. The team that plays no defense versus the team with no offense.
How do they play UCLA this year?
Right.
Coach Foster, new head coach over there at UCLA, obviously, but new head coach at Washington as well.
It's weird to me, and I mean, this team got gutted as well, to be fair, but Florida State and Michigan having virtually the same exact record projection. Yeah. I know Florida State lost a lot of talent.
I think they're both very similar offseason storylines, except for one lost their head coach. But you look at both their rosters and you go, God dang, the NFL ravaged this roster.
Yeah. Well, it's not only that, the coaching staff of Michigan is primarily what I'm referring to. To lose, what was it, 70% of your production and 5 or 6 really, really major coaches.
Yeah.
I feel like that is huge. But I mean, it obviously it doesn't mean as much because Florida State went through something similar with the roster and retained most of their coaching staff. So
we got to move.
It's 47. Good
yeah, dude, we got to move. Top 10 running back units per Pro Football Focus. I've got a bunch of notes on this. Ohio State, obvious.
Fair.
Travion Henderson and Judkins, it makes sense. UCF here at number 2. I think a lot of people, when they hear that, whoa, UCF. RJ Harvey went for over 1,400 yards last year. And I think a lot of this has to do with Gus Malzahn being the head football coach. He's going to run the football effectively no matter what. But they also got one of the premier transfers in Penny Boone. You give any Gus Malzahn offense a gadget back named Penny Boone, I'm signing up. Not even looking at it. Don't even go watch the tape. I'm taking it. Georgia at 3 for obvious reasons. We don't have to delve into it too far because, again, we're pinned up on the clock. Penn State, the backs are great. The combination of the backs are great. You just got to show me against somebody worth a salt. I feel like every time I watch Penn State, against a really good football team. They see a lot of loaded boxes, and the running back core has to basically churn out 4 and 5 yard runs that are really, really impressive, but the stat book doesn't look impressive. But if you just watch it, you're like, damn, they're working their ass off today against a really heavy box. Ole Miss at 5. My first question was how, right? You lose Judkins, one of the best backs in the country, and then you remember, oh wait, Ulysses Bennett was really good last year.
Yep.
And they got Henry Parrish, a transfer from Miami. I see a bunch of busted assignments inbound for Ole Miss. Just as a general take about Ole Miss this year. Very, very transfer dependent on an offense that is very intricate. Right? It is not complex, very intricate. A lot of layers, a lot of motions, a lot of hand signals, a lot of things to catch up on. Whereas at other offenses, a comms in the helmet's going to really, really help. Ole Miss is probably still going to be doing a bunch of this stuff because they're trying to play fast and no huddle and all that good stuff. So very, very bust assignment heavy season, I would imagine, in that backfield coming. Miami, first question was how. Again, Damian Martinez transferred in from Oregon State. They have Mark Fletcher, a young back as well. Oregon, that Jordan James cat, man, was committed to Georgia for a while in that class. He's turning out to be a really, really good football player. I foresee a very big year coming for him. He's got a pair of backups, including a transfer from Northwest Missouri State. I believe that's home of, what's his name that rushed Colin or Schrader? Is that the D2 home of Schrader from Missouri?
Might be.
How many D2 schools are in Missouri other than SEMO's D1AA?
Probably a good bit.
You think so?
Yeah.
Northwest Missouri State got to be the only one pumping out multiple. There can't be multiple D2 schools in the state of Missouri pumping out good dudes. Look up Schrader and see where he's from, and we'll find out our answer there. I'm pretty sure it's the same school. Not that big of a deal, even though it would be a story for Northwest Missouri State.
Lutheran, that's high school.
That's high school. What college you got for me?
Keep reading them.
Anyways, a transfer that had 1,400 yards of D2 last year.
Truman.
So there are multiple D2 schools in the state of Missouri pumping out P5, transfers. So there you go. Kansas in at number 8. Devin Neal has stacked several good seasons there. K-State, I think, is at 9. I understand it. Name power, and just general history of good backs coming out of K-State. DJ Giddens is really good. Dylan Edwards, namesake, really, really good. I think we have a duplication of skill sets, which at the running back position is not necessarily ideal.
No, I mean, you need that 1-2 punch.
Yeah, you
change pace and things.
You need thunder and lightning. You need change of pace. That's the definition of change of pace. Thunder and lightning. You need 2 separate skill sets to do a variety of different things. We'll see how that our offensive coordinating staff chooses to do so there. West Virginia at 10 is very, very sneaky interesting to me on this list because of what Jaheim White did last year. As a true freshman, check this out. You ready? From week 8 on, Kirby, week 8. 16 carries for $146 against BYU. The next week, 9 for 39 against Oklahoma. The next week, 21 for 204 against Cincy, 17 for 133 against Baylor, and 12 for 50 against UNC. Not a single game last year, Kirby, once he started to really, really get carries as a true freshman, not a single game in which he didn't average at least 4.5 yards per carry.
Oof. That's moving the rock.
Yeah, and as a year 2 specialist out there at West Virginia, we'll see what he can do. Super explosive back out there at West Virginia. Any thoughts on this top 10 list? These are units, by the way, but
yeah, I mean, I'm
trying to run that one down.
I think you nailed the reactions pretty clear. I mean, Ohio State's clear cut number 1. Georgia, who did you have at number 2 again? It was who'd you have at number 2?
I didn't have anybody at number 2. PFF had UCF.
Yeah, who's at number 2? That was what I was saying. I mean, UCF is probably the most. I understand they're number 2 on this, but I feel like they're one of the most underrated running back rooms.
Yeah.
So it's a good list. I respect it. I don't have any qualms with that, and I think you explained it really well.
I don't either. Do you want to laugh at Dabo?
Let's laugh at Dabo.
All right. Look, I think everybody's bad at remembering names. So much so that when you're good at it, you should A, brag about that, but B, it's like commonly known. Like people around you probably know that you're good at names. Right? Famous name remembering story. Wow, we're pinned up on the clock. Chris Sims remembered my name one time.
I think you got that.
I think I told that story about Chris Sims remember my name at the Super Bowl.
I don't know if I remember.
I met Chris Sims, was talking to him for probably 5 or 10 minutes about what I do, what I want to do. This was like Atlanta Super Bowl. So this is like nobody knows Brooks Austin at this point. I was asking him for some career advice, all this stuff, probing him. And after like 5 or 6 minutes, he had to go. And he turned around and was like, all right, Brooks, it was great to meet you. And I was like, no way I would have remembered my name if I were in his situation.
Oh, yeah.
Really impressive, right? Like, no freaking way. 6 minutes of having back and forth conversation with a stranger. I'm Chris Sims. No freaking way I'm remembering Brooks Austin's name. So I bumped into him at the Combine this year. And I was like, how'd you remember my name? Blind luck.
That's what he said?
Yeah. It's what he alluded to. He just kind of stumbled into it.
I just did, man.
And I think it was one of those names that it just stuck with him. Because like Brooks is not common. It's not a, no offense to a Jeffs or Tyler.
But maybe the fact that it's not common is what helped him remember.
That's what I'm saying. It's not one of these common names. It was an uncommon name. I think it's why I remembered it. Anyways, where were we at?
Talking about
Dabo. I am a notorious name forgetter. So much so that I recognize this in Dabo right here. He clearly forgot Braden Jacobs' names, who is a very recent commit. I think he committed to them about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. He's 6'7". He is the son of Brandon Jacobs, the running back from the New York Giants.
God, Brandon Jacobs has a kid who's already going to college.
Yeah, he's 6'7", 335. He's committed to Clemson. He's a 4-star lineman. And this is Dabo Swinney very obviously forgetting his name.
Hey, and I'm Coach Dabo Swinney, Clemson football, hanging out with Brady Jacobs. Success. You're 5-star. I should be a 5-star. You're a 10-star. 10-star in my book. Wait a minute. That's a good thing with that. I've never seen it. Hey, and you know, we got another.
Definitely forgot that one too.
Oh.
Is it okay for me to read your video? Video? A lot of battles between these two today. A lot of battles. Always been that place to go.
What in the world?
You're telling me if you're Dabo Swinney, you did that and you're like, post that. That's good.
Post that.
You can't say, no, let's do that again. I can be more enthusiastic.
No, I think
you don't even have to say I forgot his name. Just be like, I can probably be more
First
enthusiastic.
of all, why in the ever-loving hell would you bedazzle a football? What are we doing there? Because you're Dabo?
Because you're Dabo Swinney.
Why are we bedazzling footballs? A little bit sus there. What are we doing?
Yeah,
you know,
unless it's like real rhinestones.
Straight up, unless it's like you say, unless it's like diamond bedazzled.
Yeah.
Which at that point, I mean, good God, how much of a budget do we have to really?
Yeah. What are you doing, bro?
Spend on? Yeah. Let's go buy a chain if we're trying to impress kids. Trying to get in close with impressionable kids. Let's go buy a diamond and studded bedazzled necklace, not some football. But anyways, very clearly forgot both of those individuals' names. I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean that was clearly like all right, let's get this one take thing. Let's go in. And I'm here with.
Yeah, exactly. Like he obviously knows Braden Jacobs' name. I think it's not a stranger to him. He didn't just randomly forget his name, but in that very instant moment with a camera on them, he very clearly forgot that young man's name. I would have just like, hey man, it's awkward pause there. Let's retake that. And then the assistant's got to be in your ear going, hey, it's Braden and it's Arius. And those are who you're with right now.
Well, the thing that really gives it away is that he also then, like, after he stumbles on the name, he then tries to like say a fact about him. Like, no, I know who you are. You're a 5-star, right?
Yeah, no. You're a 10-star.
You're a 10-star,
You're a
bro.
10-star.
I know who you are.
Should be. You're a 10-star. Look at this bedazzled football. Hey, defensive lineman, come in here. A lot of future battles.
Come here, guy. Come here, fella.
Yeah. Dabo being Dabo.
But also, like,
at least it isn't.
Coach Swinney's got that drill.
Coach Swinney's got that drill. And now he's on TikTok. At least it's not that.
Is he that out of touch that he thinks that's a good recruiting video?
No, the best recruiting video that's ever came out of Clemson headquarters was him just absolutely giving buckets to one of their commits. Because he is a real hooper. Like he turned around, sprayed like in the face, Kobe'd a kid. See, look, it's with it. I mean, wash your eyes out, in your eye, that type of stuff. You know.
All right, if you're gonna say wash, if you're gonna say wash your eyes out, then you're playing into it.
Nah, man, in your eye, wash your eye out. That's in your eye.
All right,
chemical bath in your eye.
All right, there's no saving it, man.
Raindrop.
There's no saving.
Kobe.
There's no saving it.
For 3. R.I.P. You ever seen Along Came Polly?
Ever seen what? Along Came
Polly?
Maybe. Off the top of my head, I can't remember it, but
you need to go watch it.
Does he like? How does he not realize how cringy that is?
I don't think he cares, bro. I think he's got such dad energy.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
and he definitely, and he's not one of these people. He doesn't say this. He truly believes this. I guarantee you, Dabo Swinney thinks there's only one opinion in the entire universe that matters, and it's the good Lord's.
The Lord's.
And that's dead serious. And you know what? I'm sure there is a lot of peace and joy that comes with that. I am a believer. I'm a practicing Christian. I do not walk this earth with that type of personal confidence. That only the Lord's opinion matters about me. Yeah. I very, 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 very much so care about people's opinion of me.
I mean,
Dabo does not strike me as someone who does.
You do have to respect, because he is clearly comfortable as who he is. So
yeah.
It's definitely cringy, and it's definitely like, what the hell are you doing? But at least, like we say, he's always been Dabo Swinney. Like, there's never been a moment where it's like, he's acting funny now.
He's just being him.
He's just Dabo.
Yeah, the moment he strays from this consistent model of being Dabo is the moment we'll have questions. All right, the reason everyone's here, I would presume, I don't know why everybody's here, but I'm presuming everybody's here because they see a title about predicting the future of college football recruiting, and that is what we're going to talk about right now. So I truly believe the player acquisition model, the way you go about stacking your roster, the way you go about building your roster, the way you go about recruiting is ultimately set to change, obviously, with House versus NCAA. But I want to give you a general history of how these things used to work. Okay, prior to NIL, this is how things used to work. Every player got a scholarship, right? 85 players got a scholarship. The only funny business going on with scholarships was this blue shirt, gray shirt bullshit that no one could ever really figure out. It was an advancement of a scholarship. It was a promisement of a scholarship later. It was we're going to put you on the roster this year, but you don't count for scholarships next year, plus, draft, whatever. That was the only real playing around with the 85 you were going on. Best case scenario, you might be at 86, 87. Worst case scenario, due to some drafts, you might be at 83, gray shirt, transfer, whatever. That was kind of how it used to work, right? In terms of scholarship allotments, the 85 kind of was the 85. Money, in terms of like what money was spent in player acquisition models, how do we go get players? The only money that was really allocated in the old model was cash payments, right? Via bag dropping. That's what you guys all know that. Let's go buy a car with the cash that was dropped off from so-and-so college football coach. We all know how that happened, but it was really only about, I would say, 5 to 10 players in each class that were getting any type of advancement with regards to cash payments. And then once you got onto school campuses, I would imagine there was some type of cash advancements or cash allotments based on performances once you got to college. They weren't going to let you go broke once you got in college on the old model, right? Prior to name, image, and likeness. Now, we have name, image, and likeness. How's it work now? Well, now I would imagine agents, players, dads, moms, aunts, uncles, grandparents, whoever is the manager of the camp, if you will, for each individual player, those people are going about negotiating the highest annual value on a day-to-day basis sometimes, right? How can we get the most amount of money for this 365? This 365 that I'm about to put in for this year, how can I go about maximizing my annual value that will be paid out on a monthly basis? How can I go about negotiating that at its highest value on, again, sometimes a day-to-day basis? You're out here wheeling and dealing, trying to get the maximum annual value, again, that is paid out on a monthly basis via NIL collectives, which we all know NIL collectives are essentially just boosters and a collection of really, really highly paid boosters and the common fan. Jimmy and Johnny, the average dog fan. Jimmy and Johnny, the average Tennessee Vol fan. You guys are brunting the load of the payrolls that are going out on a monthly basis under the current NIL structured model. We all know that's how this is going now. But we all know that that model is about to blow up because House versus NCAA, the lawsuit that we've all been talking about on this channel for the last 3 or 4 months, is about to come to fruition. The settlements are being made. They're being agreed upon. They're all agreed upon before the court really even got started with this actual case. So what is coming now via the House versus NCAA and etc.? It's like 3 or 4 lawsuits, ultimately bringing us to this new version of college football. What does player acquisition under the new version of college football look like? Well, we know there's about roughly supposed to be projections of $22 million of annual rev share spent on athletes. $22 million, that's great. That's the annual revenue share that's going to be allotted to athletes, but we have no idea what that means in terms of where that $22 million goes or how it's going to be dispensed. You asked me two questions. What sport's going to get what? I have no idea. And is there a flat fee? Meaning, does the safety get just as much money as the quarterback? I have no idea. All I know is that roughly $22 million on an annual basis for the next decade is going to be allotted via rev share to student athletes. I also know under this new current model that there will be a quote unquote NIL enforcement agency. What the hell does that mean? Well, I think it means there's going to be actually some infrastructure to the NIL method, right? What do we do with this collective model that we've built? Well, NIL enforcement will likely now actually track deals. Okay. I would imagine. In fact, I have it on good authority that from now on, if you get some type of NIL deal north of $600, it has to be reported to your essential NIL registrar at your university. Okay, so now there's actually going to be an enforcement. You're not going to be able to be out here paying for play. And Kirby, because of this settlement with the House versus NCAA, I told you a couple weeks ago, this now opens the door to the government being involved, right? The government being able to actually provide some type of stipulation, some type of nationwide, hey, this is how we're going to handle this, some actual governance on this stuff. So let me ask you this, Curb. When salaries start getting involved, when reporting of income starts getting involved, when stipulations and regulations and the government starts to become involved, and reporting of assets starts to become involved, how would you go about persuading or influencing someone with any type of monetary value?
I mean, first off, you're going to have to do it all under the table.
Under the table, which means cash, right? So that's what I foresee happening now, right? We are going to have in college football, we're going to return to the old model with a new model twist. The old model was cash payments to about 5 to 10 players at the top of each class, you would imagine, right, across the elite rosters, right? Those were bag drop, last minute, here's $250,000, here's whatever, and cash payments out of the back channels of whatever we can possibly find to influence your last minute decision. On top of nowadays, that's going to happen in my foreseeing of the future, my prediction. That bag dropping moment is going to happen on top of whatever salary allotment is going to be having. So I think we're going to basically revert back to the old ways of recruiting. And I've tossed this idea and tossed this prediction around to several people in the sport, and they all agree, which brings us to our local hour. I think this helps Georgia out tremendously. It basically reverts us to the old method.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
We'll figure it out. All right. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back into our second hour, our local hour. We finna talk that dog. Speaking of the transition, that's not by coincidence, even though he did tell me he was going to do it in August. Lagonza Hayward.
August 7th,
Lagonza Hayward.
I was about to tell you that.
Yeah, we're going to need to get that written up at some point. Lagonza Hayward told me on my recruiting tour he was going to announce his commitment at some point in August. So this fits the timeline. Nothing has been changed. However, he did announce this right after coming from a Georgia official visit. It's Georgia versus Tennessee in that matchup either way. We're going to get to it in our recruiting intel towards the end of this local hour. But I want to continue our conversation about NIL enforcement and revenue sharing and the new model of college football, or we like to call it the new world order of college football. It's going to revert back to what it was. Okay, I don't think it's going to be this free market system. However, I think the NIL stuff's still going to be around. Like if you're Aspire Collective and you have built this collective machine like you have at Tennessee, I don't think those things suddenly get shut off. I do wonder, however, if I'm a booster that is giving NIL money right now, and I know that's directly impacting a player coming to my school, and I can do that legally, I wonder, Curb, how much of this is, I wonder how much of this is shut off, or the funds are maybe decreased once this has to revert back to cash payments, or once, hey, the player's already getting a rev share. Why do I have to give him more? I think that's going to come into the mindset of some of these mega boosters who are paying massive amounts of money right now and getting exposure to the football program via that money.
Yeah, I mean, my question when you were reading all this, and I know obviously, like you said, boosters are going to be less willing to donate money now that you have rev share, now that the actual salaries are being paid for. But what's stopping universities from saying, okay, let's just use all of our booster money to fund these salaries now? Where essentially we're not taking any losses, because the gains that we get from, say, the $22 million we get from boosters now goes down to 15. So we're only really losing $7 million to pay these salaries. Now, what's stopping that from happening?
Well, nothing real. I mean, it's all it's cash in, cash out, right? So wherever the booster money gets allocated, you can say whatever, but the money comes in from Booster Johnny for $15 million. He gives a one lick donation, right? It comes in and he could say it's to the softball budget or whatever he wants to put his name on, and he'll get his name on that. But it's just $15 million into the overall athletic budget, and then it all goes out however it goes out. You see what I'm saying?
Correct.
So yeah, I think the NIL money nowadays goes directly into a collective. Now it's just going to go into a college football fund, or
probably
either way. That's where we're headed, and I think that helps out programs like Georgia. It helps out programs like Alabama again. It helps out even programs like Ole Miss. But I don't think it's going to hurt Tennessee. I think it's going to balance the playing field, though, to where Ohio State can't go out here and pay $1.5 million for Will Howard and then turn right around and go buy Quinshon Judkins as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be plausible.
Or Caleb Downs. Or any of this stuff. I think that type of constant roster turnover and being able to go out and buy Band-Aid solutions, I think that's going to take a hit via this new player acquisition model that's going to come via these settlements. Kirby, we haven't done this in a while. I don't think we've done this ever. We've talked Charlie Condon. Charlie Condon is worthy of talking about on this network. We talked Wes Johnson. We talked Wes Johnson, but Charlie Condon and Wes Johnson occasionally. This is a football predominant channel. People come here to talk football. There ain't no doubt about that. In fact, the description of the channel says your favorite football coach subscribes. You should too. Okay, so that's kind of the bill of this network. However, when there is a baseball game that is played like last night's baseball game between Georgia and Georgia Tech that decided Georgia's ultimate punching of the ticket to a super regional in Athens, that subbitch makes the show notes, and it leads the show notes. So I want to talk about this because this game was absolutely loaded, particularly for this case. Obviously, Georgia wins 8-5 in extra innings in the 10th. But this game was flat out nuts. It starts out in the sense that like Georgia comes out first inning, scores 2, jumps on them. You think you've got the hot start, but Tech actually like answers in the bottom thanks to this Burris kid, who, by the way, this Drew Burris cat. I would not want to play that guy multiple times in 2 days. I couldn't imagine what ACC teams felt like during I can because I watch SEC teams do it with Charlie Condon this year. But every time that dude was up at the plate, I felt like, first of all, they managed to do it in like really intense situations, or he managed to just create some shit to have happen. He's super competitive at bats every single time. That Burris dude, every time he stepped up to play, I was like, uh-oh, this might be a problem. But anyways, that guy, super problem. But they score a run in the bottom of the first, and then in the bottom of the second, Zach Harris basically implodes. But to be honest, this Harris cat, come to find out, because I ain't going to be acting like I was out here grinding the baseball schedule this year. Grinding the baseball tape?
Yeah, not really grinding the baseball slate, we should call it, instead of the grinding the tape. But Zach Harris gives up 4 in the second, mostly on the 3-run homer by Lackey, Georgia Tech's catcher. But also an error leads to another run. Left fielder kind of camped under a fly ball, gets turned around out in left field, and ultimately creates an error. They get a single up the middle of the next pitch, and they score a 4th run in that inning, and Tech jumps out 4-2. Okay, give Harris credit, however, okay, because this is a cat who ain't throwing more. I think the stat last night was he had one other outing this year where he threw more than 2 innings in that outing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so not a dude that's out here supposed to be going long run. He throws 109 pitches last night, and doesn't give up another run in the rest of the 4 innings that he ultimately goes on to work. Hell, Kirby, the bullpen didn't give up another run in the rest of the game until the bottom of the 10th inning. Condon comes in at the top of the 5th inning and kind of adds on not an insurance run, but a hey, let's get competitive in this game run. Even though it's a side note here for me on this baseball team, I feel like every time Charlie Condon gets to the plate, it's super pressurized in general. But if there's anybody on base, I feel like he almost has to hit a home run for Georgia to feel secure about winning that baseball game.
Yeah.
It feels like every time you get Condon up, you got to have runners on, and he's got to go deep. And that's just the way it is. And if he doesn't go, and somehow during this regional, they found ways to win games despite the fact that otherwise, I think, hell, even his home run against Army, I think that was a solo shot. Yeah. So they managed to win games when he didn't maximize those opportunities, and it makes me feel like he has to every single time. But he hits kind of like a cue shot off the handle, and an RBI score or a run scores there. Patty sack. Think about it. Comes into this game, into the 7th, throwing fuzz. I got Patty Sack and NIL here for you. Okay, a lot of talk about name, image, and likeness.
Hacky sack.
Patty sack.
Hacky sack.
No. Patty sack, the rare combination of name, Patty sack, win. Okay. His image with the glasses. Yeah. Dynamic. And I'm going to change likeness for lifeness because his fastball's got tremendous life on it. Name, image, and likeness is Patty sack.
That's almost as good as made in his image.
Yeah.
Wow. You and Dabo are like right here creativity-wise.
Absolutely. We're right there. Big football brain, guys. But Patty Sack was just fuzzing. Just fuzzes 3 guys in a row in the 7th. Huge. But Patty Sack with the goggles had to get into the show notes as well. And then the 8th, Trey Phelps hits a bomb. Which, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, Curb. Very rarely do you, in a swing, suck your hands up to your belt because the dude's throwing 96 one-seamer into your hands.
Right. And
you barrel that ball and not keep it from fading back into center field. I don't know. We used to have a baseball bat lying around. We got a sword.
Yeah, go ahead and let your sword swing real quick.
All right. So very rarely do we suck our hands up into and kind of do this number and not have that ball tail back into center field. Okay, somehow our boy Trey Phelps kept his hands inside and barreled that baseball kind of like this into left field. That's actually kind of a good baseball bat drill right there, Curb, because you get to see the plane. You see where on plane, off plane there? Actually kind of works. Anyways, he kept his hands damn inside that ball and barreled that ball and got it out of left center field like that. It was hella impressive. So yeah, shouts out to Trey Phelps there because that was a huge moment, as was the top of the 9th, when our guy Colby Branch, second huge home run in as many days. He hit the grand salami the day before. Colby Branch hits a no-doubter, absolute nuke into left center field. And then it's so fitting, Curb, that the game goes into extras. There's a whole bunch to talk about there in the bottom of the 9th. First of all, we got to get there. What a fiasco the bottom of the 9th was. Goldstein blows out his elbow. We can talk about that. We can not talk about that. Unfortunate. Guy hadn't thrown in like 2 months. I think it was 6 weeks on the shelf due to shoulder soreness. And then the next thing you know, boom, pops his elbow. That's unfortunate as hell. Hoskins comes in, gets 2 quick outs before having one of the most non-competitive walks I've seen in a minute.
Yeah.
By the way, Georgia in the bullpen goes nothing but like they weren't good enough to play Georgia tight end, but they look like them. They're all 6. Dude, I swear to God, they rolled out 3 dudes yesterday from the bullpen, 6'5", 245.
Good Lord.
Hoskins came running out of the pen like you should have handed him a helmet anyways. You know what I mean? That's what he looked like coming out of the pen. So nonetheless, he gets 2 outs, and then they have to get him out of there because he has a 4-pitch walk. Now suddenly there's bases loaded with 2 outs, and what would have been a ball 4 from March ends up like a CNI attempted single in between first and second base, which as a lifelong fatty who only could play the corners, DH, and close games, I was constantly playing first base, and that ball in between first and second is a nightmare. Okay, it's an absolute nightmare, especially for a right-handed glove, right? So you're backhanding that ball, and now you're having to turn and kind of land and pivot off your back foot and now lead a pitcher, by the way, which March, I don't know if you saw the play. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know.
Where he kind of slides into and catches the ball and tags the back. Who's the best play there? By the first baseman or the pitcher? What do you say?
I would go first baseman.
Okay, why? Because I'm about to really go contrarian belief here and really swerve with the take here.
Go ahead and let's hear it.
Marsh is late to the damn bag. He's late getting over.
Yeah.
As soon as the ball's hit on the right side, you're sprinting your ass to first base. You should have been standing there, not standing there. You should have been like as approaching the bag with your feet, ready to catch that ball and tag the bag. It's PFPs, dude. Get your ass over. It's on him. So for Collins to have led him perfectly and still put it on the bag, what an incredible play by Corey Collins. And then he ultimately follows it up in the top of the 10th. Of course it's him, by the way. Of course he's the guy that delivers that 2-run shot up to to really break open the top of the 10th. And here's my only thing. Here's my only thought. You ready?
Let's hear it.
Condon's obviously going to be in big situations moving forward, right? He's obviously going to be up in moments where you need him to do something. And inevitably, opposing teams are going to walk him or they're not going to pitch to him. But here's what that creates when you have that guy in your lineup. The person that bats in front of Charlie Condon is going to see a lot of heaters. You know why? Because they can't afford to put that guy on the bag. All right, because they're going to already put the other guy on the bag. So we're going to competitively go after the dude in front of Condon every single time. That dude's going to see a bunch of green. He's going to see a bunch of hittable, really competitive at-bats from the pitcher. They are not going to pitch around him. They are going to pitch around Condon, which means the guy behind Condon's going to be in a really, really crucial, pressurized situations where everybody in the park just watched you walk the guy in front of him and put everything on the plate of the guy behind the player of the year. So here's what I suggest. That guy that's in front of Charlie Condon better be a great fastball hitter. In fact, he better be the guy that needs to see heat in order for him to get hot. You know who screams that right now? Who? Slade Alford and Trey Phelps. Those guys are fastball hitters. Put those dudes in front of Charlie Condon, let them see a bunch of heat and watch what happens. Oh, by the way, that spot after Charlie Condon, just told you, super pressurized. Why not give those at-bats to Corey Collins? Why not give him those at-bats to sit behind Condon and say, all right, they just walked Condon. Now we got runners on first and third, or now we got runners on first and second. All right, our second best stick is now up. It would cause teams, I feel like, to avoid this. Where, again, no offense to our man, I'm forgetting his name, that's batting in, right behind Condon right now anyways, Goldstein. No offense to Goldstein. But put Corey Collins right there, and let's really take advantage of these, big spots. I feel like Goldstein was up in massive spots last night where, Condon's doing everything he can. He's 3 for 3, but every single time they have a bag open, they're going to put that sumbitch on the bag. So let's have our second best bat right behind him.
Wow. That's the most baseball talk we've ever seen on this show.
And I think it's probably some of the best baseball talk you've seen in a minute.
It's very good baseball talk.
Your boy played for a while. I'm not going to do it, but 431 senior year, the kid had a stick on him. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
86, 87 off the bump, pure closer only. I think I had 14 saves, sub 1 ERA my senior year playing baseball. So, yeah, we had one. Fun story. My sophomore year, going into my sophomore year, we have a coaching change. Actually, it might have been going into my junior year. We have a coaching change. At this point, I'm an obvious starter, but every year in D2, you're kind of up for a new scholarship allotment. So you kind of have to earn your keep every year, every spring especially. We had a coaching change going into my junior year. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to dick around and go see if I can make this baseball team right quick. So I walk out short. It's Division II baseball. It's not nothing. Walk out short of his baseball team, and I threw a pin, and then I got one live AB. Had not seen live pitching in 2.5 years.
Right.
87, 88, righty, 6'4", 6'5". I had hung out with the guy. I knew the guy. I knew I wasn't going to hit. I ended up making the baseball team.
Wow.
First AB. I didn't even take BP that day. Hadn't swung a bat since senior year of high school. Laced a double into the left field, down the left field line. Caught him digging for a curveball. Was not going to see the heater. The heater at 87 looked like 99. So I was just like praying that he was dumb enough to throw a breaking ball. Laced a liner into left field. Made the team. I was indeed 85, 86 off the bump that day. So yeah. A little baseball background on the kid.
Attaboy.
So yeah, Brooks Austin, the baseball guy tonight.
We have a baseball sub show now.
No, not at all.
That's too much content for me. Right?
Yeah, I mean, depending on the run, dude. You saw the numbers. I sent them into the chat, bro. Yeah. This is a business what we run around here. I think there's some beat reporting going on. There's some great beat reporting that we try to do. But more importantly, this is a business. Meaning we cover what I know people want to hear. We write what I know what people want to read. And apparently people are interested on Georgia baseball. So there, we had to throw it into the show notes today. Welcome into tonight's show. We have a loaded one for you. It's actually time to talk some football here on the local hour. I want to give this visitor intel first before I get any further, because I know a bunch of people are here to watch it, so I want to rattle off some of this for you. I'm going to tell you what I can tell you publicly, but I will tell you publicly right now, the best available information, period, is over on patreon.com/Brooks Austin. It only costs you $10. There's a lot of stuff nowadays that costs a whole hell of a lot more than $10. Okay, you go up in a gas station, get a Gatorade, a water, and like an Airhead, and you're walking out of there for $9.50. All right, so come see me for $10. You'll get all the recruiting intel you can possibly imagine. But I'm going to tell you what I can right now. So let's start with the commits. Ryan Montgomery, I talked about it on the show Thursday before the visits this weekend. I wanted to know about the juice. I know about the player. I think I got a real good feel about whom Ryan Montgomery is as a football player, or at least who they think he is as a football player. I wanted to know, is he a dude? You know what I mean? Do players gravitate to him? Do players want to be around him? Do players dislike him? Do players not want to be around him? These kind of questions are important to ask about the quarterback position. I don't think you have to be alpha curb at Georgia at this position. I don't think you have to be the captain of all captains. You know what I mean? I don't think you have to be Mr. America playing the quarterback position at Georgia, but you can't be a PUSSY. Okay, your teammates cannot think you're soft. All right, and your teammates can also not think you're a douchebag. If those two things happen, you do not pass this test. He passed this test with flying colors. He is not soft. He is not a D-bag. His teammates will not hate him. He will survive at Georgia. There was a certain player every once in a while we hear about, maybe this guy is a D-bag, or maybe this guy is a PUSSY. Mm-hmm. I can think of two very well-known cases in the last 5 years of that being the case. So there you go. Don't ask me what it is. Maybe you can probe me for it over in Discord. Maybe. Actually, I'll give it right up in Discord. I know I will. I'll give it right up, bro. All you got to do is, that's the other great thing about our platform. Available all the time. Right there. All you got to do is tag me, and I come a-running, brother. So, yeah, go ahead and ask me over there in Discord, and I'll come up with that info real quick. Yeah, we see the super sub right here from Bennett Spears. Speaking of this, the Discord right now and the Patreon, Bennett Spears gives us a dub right there, a little $20 super sub, and that goes to 2 free subscribers. So head over to Brooks7711@gmail.com. Shoot me a message over there, and I'll get you set up with that free subscription. Visitor intel. Let's continue this. So there's that intel on Ryan Montgomery. Elias Williams, I think that's locked up. Okay, I think you're good. The fear is Florida State. We're going to have to hold off there. I think it's sooner than later, though. The longer that one goes, the safer I feel about Georgia there. Bo Walker locked in. Ethan Barbour locked in. Derek Nkanagbon. Say it with me. Derek
Nkanagbon.
I called him Derek. I sit here and practice all day on man's last name, and I F up his first name. Darren Nkanagbon. Say it with me. Darren Nkanagbon. That is his pronunciation.
I can say names when someone says it before. Like, if I hear it, I can say it. If I'm reading it on paper, I'm like, whoa, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's how the brain works.
So, Derek Nkanagbon.
Nkanagbon.
Got it. Forever.
Can't wait to mess that one up next week. About 90% confident on him. Here's the only thing that there's 10% there, right? Edge rushers, super highly coveted position, also very monetarily valued on the market. So never feel 100% confident. Nor would I feel 100% confident about like a quarterback that was, uber talented and not 100% like guaranteed. Like Ryan Montgomery basically was telling everybody he was going to Georgia no matter what, it felt like, prior to his commitment. So there's that. Let's talk about the quote unquote I feel goods, right? Talked about the commits, talk about the I feel goods that were on the visit this week. And by the way, had one source tell me, Kirby, that they felt like there was I'm not going to say strong chance, but there was a possibility that every player that was on an official visit this weekend could be signed in December. Wow. Like that's the kind of top targets and guaranteed takes that were on the campus this weekend, and they feel like they feel good about a lot of these guys, right? I just talked about all the commits. There were several of those, and then I feel really good about Travis Smith Jr. I feel really good about Zayden Walker. I feel really good about Juan Gaston. I now feel really good about Lagonza Hayward. I feel like they did enough to get into the lead on that one. I feel good about Michael Carroll. I now feel good about Taylor Taylor after his official visit. I feel like James Coley did a really good job. Also think Mom loves the state of Georgia. So much so that, something might happen there. Be on the lookout. All right. So I think they feel really, really good about that. So there's the group of the quote unquote I feel goods coming out of this weekend. Now, a lot of people on other networks may have included Nick Brooks in that category. I think Nick Brooks wants to come to Georgia. I think Nick Brooks and Georgia are a good pairing. I also think Nick Brooks is going to have to turn down a lot of other compelling offers. And you know what I mean when I say that, right? Iowa's going to be in the mix there heavy. But it's like 6 months of Nick Brooks continue to turn down massive money elsewhere. That's what you're battling against there. So I think you have to, like I said, in this category, got to keep going. You got to keep going. You got to keep recruiting Nick Brooks and keep showing him love. You can't back off that one and feel like you feel good or your spot's confident, or you can back off or take your foot off the gas, because the other side of the coin there is money, and money talks constantly in these recruitments, right? Which brings us to Justice Terry and Isaiah Gibson, the two USC commits, which is probably why a lot of people are what most people are most concerned or curious or inquisitive about coming out of this weekend. I feel good that Georgia ultimately flips both of these individuals, but Kirby, the negotiation tactics nowadays, especially with rev share coming, the negotiation tactics on the NIL front are so guerrilla warfare that you're only going to hear the highest end of evaluations right now. Mm-hmm. And in terms of, this is how much I want, I'm not coming off of this figure. There was a lot of, I would imagine, a lot of concern in the recruitments created this weekend, but also some we feel good about where we're at, but god dang, they're asking for a lot of money. That's kind of what I felt like out of both the Isaiah Gibson and Justice Terry camp, not to go too far into it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to kind of expect that this is going to be the norm for the next few seasons until you finally do get that official stamp as to what rev share will be. And I mean, you might honestly see it more now because players know, hey, this is really your last opportunity to get as much as you can, because by 2026 or 2027, it's going to be a fixed amount, or it's going to be less than maybe what you might get. Whereas if you're a quarterback, if you're a highly talented defensive lineman, where you're a high demand position, you can offer, high six-figure, maybe even $1 million contracts or deals, quote unquote. You're not going to be able to get that in the new rev split, you'd have to imagine. So you probably are going to see a much more bigger pushes from high marquee players.
They're not. I did find out. I don't believe they're represented by the same agency or the same agent, but they are kind of playing this relatively similar in the sense that it's USC, and you get USC involved, or you get Tennessee involved, or you get Texas involved, and you're basically telling your in-state school, like, hey, you better call Brinks, you better call JP Morgan, you better call Chase, you better call whoever you need to get you a credit line advanced, because I ain't coming cheap. And that's kind of, if I were handling these recruitments, Kirby, the very first thing that I would do is garner up attention and garner up real NIL evaluations from like 3 or 4 schools. I would get real offers from USC, Tennessee, and Texas, and then I would pit them against schools that I actually want to attend. And I think that's essentially what's going on with Gibson and Terry, because your negotiation tactics in the life of football, how many opportunities do you get to be get to be a free agent? 5 times?
Ow, at best.
If you're like a 10-year pro, you get 5 of these. College, your first contract, your second contract, your third contract.
Do you even really get?
How many people get 3 contracts?
Do you even really get to be a free agent when you're in your first contract? I mean, you're selected and they say, "Here's your number." Here's
No. I'm talking about your first time hitting free agency, not draft.
Okay, I was
no. You're told where you're going draft wise.
That's what I was.
You wrote this in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
Bro, hey, chat. Get that boy Christian Kirby 3. My God, son. That's pretty impressive. I didn't even know.
Because you're not Tyler's riding?
No, I thought you were over there dilly-dallying. I never know if you're hanging with the chat or what you're doing over there, man. That's damn good work, son.
Appreciate it.
Now you talk while I tweet.
Okay. What were we talking about?
I think we were talking about pitting USC, Texas, and Tennessee, big high NIL money schools right now, well-known NIL schools, fetching big-time NIL offerings from those schools and pitting them against schools you actually want to attend.
Yeah, it's a classic marketing strategy where you create competition. You essentially manufacture competition if you're one of these recruits, to where you can say, okay, I'm going to get these big money schools to fight over each other, to where you can increase dollar amounts and come back and say, well, USC told me X number, but Georgia's now telling me this, so coach, can you match this, and vice versa, and you kind of play this game. Now, obviously, there's certain schools that are not going to want to play that. Kirby Smart has made it extremely clear that he's not interested in getting in bidding wars, but you do still have schools that are willing to do that. So, it's going to increase the NIL value of your deal, most likely, whereas if you sit back and say, okay, coach, I'm fine with this package and I'll stay with you, you're not going to get as much money, and money's the name of the game here. So,
do you think players will make more or less money when rev shares come down?
I think it's probably going to be around the same. I think on paper it's going to be less.
I think on paper the average will increase drastically. I think starters are making a lot of money right now.
Yeah, I think the
too deep is not.
I think the median's going to become. Yeah, I think you're going to get a bigger median. Whereas,
but I think the outliers aren't going to exist as much.
Not on paper. I think you're still going to get your, like you said, under the table deals.
It's hard to get $500,000 cash to a kid annually. That's hard to do.
It is hard.
Because if it is prorated, like let's say it's $22 million. What's $22 million divided by 85? I'll do the quick math right quick.
Probably like
300,000 maybe.
Yeah, 2,400.
22 million divided by 85 is $258,000. That's not buying you a quarterback right now.
No,
that's not buying you a starting like a 5-star caliber receiver right now. That's not buying you a left tackle right now. Okay, so there's something's going to have to be made up there. It's really, really hard to make up $750,000 in cash annually. All right, or in Carson Beck's case, if it is prorated like this, it's going to be hard to make up $1.25 million in cash. Mm-hmm. So what I'm getting at right now is if you are Justice Terry, if you are Isaiah Gibson, I would be trying to leverage one of them $750,000 annual contracts because in 18 months, I might only be making $250,000 when I could have been making $750,000.
Yeah, and I think that's why you're going to see such a massive influx.
I think you're going to see agents pushing hard.
You're going to see massive push these 2 next few years. Whenever do we have a set date to
win? Dang, you thought college football coaches were bitching about getting strong-armed before.
Oh, yeah.
These next 18 months, y'all going to get put to the fire.
Is there like a set date to when this 2025. Goes into effect? So 2025?
2025 rev shares begin.
Okay, so that's essentially a year from now. So, I mean, this last recruiting class is going to be hell on coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Buckle up, buddy. But the good news is there is a light. We now have a light at the end of the tunnel.
Might be a train, though.
I think the train was private equity. That was the train.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to save you. We're here to save you. You are now related, Georgia football, to the Atlanta Falcons. I heard a theory about that one. There's another private equity fund that is they're trying to create a minor league system for pro football where the Falcons are directly tied to the Georgia Bulldogs, where the LSU Tigers are directly tied to the New Orleans Saints, and USC is tied to the Rams, and UCLA goes to the Chargers, and there's direct lines of lineation between your local college program and your pro school.
How the hell would that work?
Oh, private equity would just buy it and license it out and then directly tie it. You don't think there was a coinkydink that I kept hammering it because it's important. One of these private equity firms had literally, it was written in the report, Roger Goodell's right-hand man was the one tied up in the private equity firm. You don't think that private equity firm is going to disperse, give their money back to their members, and then create a new and try to make another run at this thing? Yeah, they probably will at some point. So yeah, you got to watch out for all these different, let's buy that would have been worst case. This is that's the train at the end of the tunnel. This is actually a light, I believe.
I believe that too. What else do we got?
That kind of wraps up all the intel on that. Do we want to talk about this walk-on, Maurice Hayes?
Yeah.
Now, Maurice Hayes is a kid from Perry High School in South Georgia, or Middle Georgia. It's South Georgia to us folks from Metro Atlanta. Feels south. Especially, that's a tote. It's like 3.5 hours from here on a Friday afternoon. But anyways, from Perry, Georgia, signed at Bowling Green. So says 24/7 Sports. In the class of 2024. I don't know how, but now he's committed to walk on at the University of Georgia.
My question to this, I watched the tape on him earlier. He's got the speed to play at Georgia.
We're about to watch it, I think, as a family.
Well, perfect. Then my question to this is, what is Georgia gaining from this? Do you not feel like they've got such a thick room right now? That
I got it right here. You ready?
Let's hear it.
He's 6'1".
Mm-hmm.
He's 175 pounds. Check.
Yep.
Double check. You ready?
Let's hear it.
10, 7, 8 in the 100.
Ooh. Wait. Before you do this, I want to give my analysis on it and then see if you agree with it.
Okay, let's hear.
So he's got incredible footwork.
Oh.
Obviously, game speed's there. We know that. That's one of the main priorities at Georgia. One of the things that...
freaking sword today, man.
You whipped out the sword. We've pulling out all the stops. One of my biggest concerns with him is he does not seem physical enough to
He don't strike?
Not in the SEC, at least.
I still think there's some Julian Humphrey striking questions, so you can have them at the University of Georgia.
Okay.
Now, the great ones don't.
Very true.
The greatest corners at the University of Georgia, they stuck their nose in at all times. Name one he hit, except for Tyson Campbell. But towards the end of his career, that dude was sticking his nose in.
He was willing to make a play.
And he was so willing to make a play, he started his pro career at the nickel.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. All right, let's watch the tape. All right. A minute and 45 seconds, not a long tape. Is this him over here?
Yep, number 9.
All right, good eyeball scouting there from the boy. I love that we get an end zone cut. Oh, okay, good pedal, good patient pedal. I see what you're saying about the zone coverage. Oh, good high point. That's a good clip. Well, he is wiry, isn't he?
Yeah.
He is wiry, big-footed, too. Got really big hoofs. Oh, good clicks. Oh, yeah. He got that ball, too? No, he didn't pick it, but he knocked it out. The change in direction and the change in speed here is really, really good. I don't have my clicker, so we can't roll it back here. How do we feel about the half spat, by the way?
The half spat on your
Yeah, like the spat only on the cleat. Like not going up to the ankle. The NCAA spat. The NCAA 14 spat. How do we feel?
I know guys that did it in high school. If it makes you comfortable, whatever. Like your drip is your drip.
Have you seen the kids nowadays that do like designs with their spat?
Yeah, like
a bunch of Gucci
stripes with it.
Bunch of Gucci. Or they'll spat it black or spat it white, and then do a red line down the middle, a white line around it. Yeah, like crazy spats.
Drip is drip, bro.
I was a alternate color spat guy.
Mm-hmm. Towards the end of it, we can watch the whole clip though. Towards the end of this is when he starts
really cooking.
Yeah, well, not even really cooking.
Or showing the deficiencies. You believe? Okay.
Here's him in man. Locks him up here.
In bump and run here.
Yeah.
3rd and 10. Okay, he's gonna take it off man too. Good pedal. Way to maintain inside leverage. Play through the hands. Not a bad clip. Is this Pierce County?
I believe so.
I think it's Pierce County.
Shout out to the Bennett family.
Shout out to the Bennett's, the Beignets. He does have a really patient pedal. I like to see that. You know, maybe it's because he's got the white spat on, but he does have a really, really patient pedal. And you know what I can tell? Because I don't know corner play. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know. I see what you're talking about with the tackling. Kind of catches. He's absorbing contact.
He's a catcher for sure.
Yeah, he's a catcher for sure. But he's obviously, it's noticeable to me that he is very deliberate about his footwork. Oh, I look orange in that one. It'll eventually settle. He's very deliberate in his footwork, and that will eventually play out, especially if you're a 10-8 guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, 10-7-8 guy, like you can roll, buddy. And that's apparent too. Once you see him really click in man coverage, or not in man coverage, but once the ball's in the air, you can really see that motor and that top end speed kick in.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to imagine he's going to put on 10 to 15 when he gets to Athens. Like that program they put him on is.
You would also have to imagine he's highly competitive.
Got to be.
Why else would you do this?
Yeah,
this makes no sense unless you know you're that guy.
It wasn't a necessity thing. That's what makes it really interesting.
He didn't need to do this either.
No,
not nowadays. If you go to Bowling Green and you're all world as a true freshman, you're coming to Georgia anyways.
Right.
You know what I mean? And for some money. So this must be because I got a chip on my shoulder and I'm going to prove that I am one of them. So more power to him. I hope it happens. God, it's a tough room though. Tough room to be walking in off a street.
I mean, hey, if you can go in and win over that room, that's a dog.
That's a dog. Also, by the way, NIL enforcement, I would imagine, gets rid of NIL Schollies.
Probably.
Can't just be giving somebody $35K out the collective account.
Yeah.
To balance.
You don't need a
tuition.
Scholarship.
Yeah, you can't be doing that.
Right.
We don't have to limit the 85. We don't have to hard cap the 85. We don't have to get rid of walk-ons. But just stop. And that's what NIL enforcement should do. Their whole job should be, your job is to find pay for play. So if there is a direct deposit from a collective to a player with no actual name, image, and likeness quantitative value, red flag it. Let's go investigate. But the cash payments are going to have to be that type of deal. So if I want to give Dan Jackson $45,000, but what is tuition in state of Georgia right now? 36?
After you do like room and board and everything like that, yeah, I can get up there. I mean, all right. Like tuition, it's just tuition for classes.
Well, no, they're going to have to pay for room and board and all that shit too. They're a Georgia football player that does Georgia football player shit, but they're picking their own payment up under these NIL scholars. You have to balance that with NIL money. So what do you think that payment is?
Probably like
$36,000?
Probably close to it.
All right, let's call it $40,000.
Out of state for sure.
$40,000 flat fee. Okay. It's hard to get $40,000, to a player in cash, have him wash it, and then pay for his students or his student loans, or have him pay for his tuition. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That once this enforcement agency actually happens, that's going to be a little bit tough. So there you go. Player of the day.
Hey,
we should talk about this Lott trophy.
We've got the Lott trophy. We've got the location for the cocktail parties. People are voicing their opinions.
We got 15 minutes and 3 topics.
5 minutes topic then.
All right. This Lott trophy, which is apparent, is this Ronnie Lott? Who is this?
I believe it's Ronnie Lott. It's given to the defensive impact player. So you don't necessarily have to be the best player on the defense. You just have to be the biggest impact player. And
they nominate or have a watch list every year.
Correct.
And this watch list of most impactful players.
Correct.
On the defensive side of the football has 2 nominees from the University of Georgia.
One you can expect.
I will now allow the chat a good 5-second pause that I will fill with da-na-na-nas to fill in your nominations for most impactful defensive football player from the University of Georgia. All right. Obviously, everybody in the chat probably would have submitted Malachi Starks and Michael Williams.
Or C.J. Allen. Yeah.
Or C.J. Allen, or some amalgamation of the sorts. Or Smile Mondon.
Mm-hmm.
Or some combination of the sorts. That's not what the Lott list did.
No.
The Lott watch list put Malachi Starks on there.
Correct.
Makes sense. And Jalen Walker, who is a phenomenal football player. But there are a plethora of athletes and football players that I would choose ahead of on a watch list other than Jalen Walker.
Is it maybe because Jalen Walker could be that third down guy?
Here's what I wrote. Okay. If Jalen Walker is on one of these watch lists, Georgia's defense is scary as shit, first and foremost. Secondly, he is the most efficient football player in the country. If he has a stat line worthy of a watch list or worthy of an award at the end of the year, he has done so playing almost exclusively on third downs. And here's how I envision Jalen Walker's snap count going this year. You ready? He will be the they rotate packages at linebacker, right? Mm-hmm. So the first group of linebackers at inside linebacker will be Smile and CJ. Yep. It should be CJ and Smile. Mike will, right? That'll be the first group. The second group will probably be Raylan Wilson, Jalen Walker. Yeah. They will play the third series. They will play the 7th series. They will play the 11th series. They'll play probably 20 snaps every game on the defensive side of the football. So there's 20 snaps for Jalen there. Then Jalen will play on every automatic guaranteed passing down. So 2nd and 17, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 7 plus. All right, 2nd and 12 plus. Those are guaranteed passing downs. Jalen Walker will be on the field in their rabbit package. That's probably another, let's give him 15 snaps.
Probably.
So in 35 snaps, if Jalen Walker plays to the caliber of an awards list, that's, oh boy, yeah. Georgia's got a scary ass unit on that side of the football.
35 sacks this season, if that's the case.
Yeah, as a team.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like I guess it's one of those things where it's like maybe they're being cheeky and like, hey, let's pick an outside the box guy. Be like, oh, if things do go right, it's like, hey, we tabbed him at the start of the year, but it does when you have a Michael Williams on your roster or a CJ Allen, guys who have been proven commodities. It is interesting, and no disrespect to Jalen Walker,
none.
We both agree that he's an amazing player, but it's an interesting decision for sure.
Jalen Walker is or I shouldn't say Jalen Walker. I should say players of Jalen Walker's build. I got whatchamacallit?
Hang now?
No, I got mulch underneath all my fingers.
Oh, splinter.
Yeah, no, all the
you just
dirt,
got dirty fingernails.
Yeah, I got dirty fingernails. It's just a working man over here.
Yeah.
What was I talking about with Jalen Walker? I think he body types like Jalen. They took a major hit with the spread offenses. I've talked about this for years. The old school outside linebacker, he just doesn't live in the world of football anymore. Being able to play in space and us play zone and have you be the zone dropper out in space over the number 3 wide receiver, who nowadays is Luther Burden. Right. It just ain't happening. We're going to play nickel. Yep. And that means you're off the field now. You got to be able to play in the box or you got to be able to rush. And he kind of does both. It spurts really well. I think he's a more premier pass rusher than he is a premier inside linebacker at this point, and he needs to be a premier inside linebacker at this point to play on Sundays. Do we agree?
I agree with that.
I think he agrees with that as well. And based off the way they have
kind of the Harold Perkins route, if you will.
Yeah. He's not as good of a rusher as Harold was as a freshman, though. But his ceiling as a rusher is much higher than Harold's.
Correct.
Because his twitch, goddamn, his get off is insane. Yeah, so the lot list was really, really confusing. Give me these quotes on these former coaches about the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Which, by the way, I thought we got rid of that. I thought we're not allowed, as journalists, I was told we're not allowed to say that because of alcohol-related deaths or something, that we remove the name world's largest outdoor cocktail party and just started calling it Georgia, Florida. Watch this. Next time I'm not warning you. I'm just saying, listen for this.
No, yeah, I'm sure.
When real professional broadcasts talk about this game, notice the avoidance of the term world largest outdoor cocktail party.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean,
notice how much they only refer to it as Georgia, Florida.
They do the same thing with the Red River Shootout. They used to call it the Red River Shootout. Now it's the Red River Rivalry.
A softening of America.
Well, I mean, the alliteration. I honestly like the Red River Rivalry more. It's hard to say, dude. But no, so basically they're asking, people have been asking around. I think it was Dog Nation that asked this to Steve Spurrier. Steve Spurrier basically said, I like the idea because obviously Jacksonville's going to be renovating their stadium for.
You talking about a neutral site or a home and home?
They're talking about for home and home. Steve Spurrier says, I like the idea of one in Atlanta and one in Orlando, just because historically they've gone to a neutral site. So, I mean, you've got Steve Spurrier who's out here saying, we'd really like to see these neutral site games.
You think visors are cool, Spurrier?
Mark Rick said, my problem is it's not truly neutral. If you're going to play a game, if you're going to play in what's been called the Gator Bowl for years, and if you're going to play in the state of Florida every year, it's not neutral. So, I mean, there's definitely a mixed reactions as to how this game will be played.
The light's the base coat.
That guy rode his moped to Pasadena in 2017.
He rode his moped
to Pasadena. To Pasadena.
He should have been more famous for that than that viral YouTube sensation.
I don't know. That's such a great clip.
Rennie Curran.
Shout out Rennie.
Shout out Rennie.
But yeah, so it's just like no one really seems to. There doesn't really seem to be a definite answer as to what the crowd wants. I mean, I know we don't want neutral site games. I think home and home's kind of what the fan base has been voting for. I mean, Kirby Smart obviously would like a home and home, but there does seem to be a lot of, shall I say, older figures in college sports that are really wanting to keep the tradition of neutral site games.
Chad said homeboy only ate Waffle House on his moped ride.
Really?
Out to Pasadena. Now, my question, I'm calling dubiousness to this I'm dubious of this fact, because once you get west of Texas, there's no Waffle House, is there?
They have Waffle House in Arizona. All
right. Is there Waffle House in Cali?
There's got to be a Waffle House.
I think there's an awful waffle in Cali.
There's got to be. We'll check it right now.
A Waffle House map. My dad used to say that in every exit in the South, there's a Waffle House. And I don't doubt him. But it's not 100% a fact.
Waffle House currently has no locations on the West Coast at all.
You think I wouldn't know my awful waffle? This guy who knows his all-star order to a T right now.
I just really wanted to be that legend to be true.
Yeah.
I just really wanted him to be like, he actually went to Waffle House.
This is worthy of making the show. Your all-star order, go ahead.
My all-star order?
Yeah, how you doing it?
I don't get an all-star.
That's not the answer I was looking for.
I do the bacon, egg, and cheese hash brown bowl.
Yeah, you're not slutty enough.
Get a peanut butter pancake.
You're not fat enough. All right, so you don't fit into this discussion.
Sorry.
So my other fat people in the chat, they will resonate with this question of how do you do your all-star at Waffle House? I am a standard waffle. I'm scrambled with cheese, hash brown, no scatter, cover, smother, none of that. Just well done. And I'm going sausage. Okay, and here's the trick. You got to take the sausage, cut it up, put it over the waffle before you hit it with the syrup. And Heinz 57 on the hash browns, but ketchup on the cheese eggs. See?
I don't know about that.
And then you take here you can do it two ways. You can do the sausage on the pancake, or you can take the toast that's nice and buttered. They pre-butter it for you at Waffle House. I love that. You can take the toast and put the sausage over there and put the cheese eggs on there, and you can make basically the Texas toast sandwich that they charge you for with your all-star meal, and still have a hash brown and waffle to go. See what I'm saying?
That's the economy
to boot. So yeah. The fact it doesn't surprise me that I'm not an all-star guy, or not only that you not did that, but you've never been an all-star guy. See, I am no longer an all-star guy, even though I all-starred when me and my boy Rudy went to Waffle House the other day. But the fact that you don't even know your go-to all-star order, like I guarantee you don't know your go-to cookout order.
My go-to cookout order used to be.
We ain't got to go to it right now, but I'm saying if you rolled up to a cookout right now, you know off rip what you're getting.
No.
See, I am lifetime fat. I've been lifetime fat. I didn't earn this. I was born with it. Me and the wife pulled up to a cookout after Jonathan's wedding the other day, and shout out Jonathan. And she was like, "I need to look up their order. What are you getting?" And I said, just spit it out right in my, like as if it were the back of my hand.
My
right
problem
here, cookout.
My problem with cookout is that it's not in a walking distance for me, and the only time I'm going there is after I've been downtown.
Hammered.
So you got to drive there, and it's like I'm going to pay for an Uber to go to cookout when I just go to DP.
I sober cookouted for the first time the other day.
That's crazy.
Well, everything's sober now
cheap.
for me.
It's cheap, but
yeah.
I mean, hit this player of the day.
Yeah, we can hit it. I thought we were going to finish the day in fast food.
We can keep going fast food.
We can talk football.
We can go
be
fast
all
food
serious.
Hey, no, look. This is
dude, you're the EP this week. You are the executive producer. So what man says, man gets. Here we go.
Wow, making me seem like I'm a diva.
A 9-minute highlight tape.
Preston J. Carey, a.k.a. PJ. Tell me a little something about PJ. What do I need to know?
So PJ is a freshman.
Freshman?
Let me give you the.
How you find PJ? Where you out here Googling?
Don't worry about it. I'm not going to reveal my 6'5", 285 as a freshman.
What?
As a freshman. He has no stars right now. He has offers from Boston College, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee. He's very raw. There's obviously a lot of refining that needs to be done.
Where's he from?
He's from Florida.
All right.
Bradenton, Florida.
I hate to do this to Andrew Ivins because Andrew just must be spread too thin. Because ain't no way a kid like this normally in the state of Florida got 0 stars from 24/7 in Andrew Ivins' region. But with all that happened with Whitflaw, I ain't got to spread no company business. But what happened with Whitflaw, I would imagine Ivins' business has gotten stretched a little bit thin because you saying he got offers from all those schools and he don't have a profile? He ain't got no offers or no stars?
He doesn't have a player rating from...
Okay, hold on. He's 2027?
Yeah.
They haven't done...
2026.
Okay, well, then he should be rated. What the hell? Is he big white boy?
Yeah, let me rewind that back.
Oh, he big white boy. Okay. He in there nose?
Yeah. Little raw, but...
Oh, yeah, he big goofy. I bet he got an 18 size shoe.
He's huge.
He rocking 18 cleats.
He brings a juice too, bro.
They had to shop for him at Ross.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
He's a juice guy.
They got to go to Ross to shop for my boy. Oh, little twitch.
Yeah.
Little twitch in the cleats. Okay. He does have a little created NCAA player vibe to him.
A little bit.
You know, when Johnny out in Western Kentucky out here making a creative player, that's what he look like.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the defensive end that he look like.
He's definitely unique.
Unique New York. What are we doing here?
Shedding a double.
Shedding a double. Okay.
I mean,
what do we think about the one leg sleeve though, or is that injury?
It looks like a sock.
Yeah, I think he's wearing a calf sleeve maybe.
Copper fit.
Yeah, well, copper fit. Or maybe he's just a one leg swagoo. You know?
Yeah.
Some guys do that.
I mean, the tape, like, there's some that jump to you right away.
The clip of him, honestly,
that first clip.
No, the first clip, big hit and all that. But the best clip so far was him bursting out behind the line of scrimmage, unzipping his feet, getting horizontal and getting flat.
Yeah,
because that's what defensive line play now at Georgia nowadays is, right? Is we have to be able to two gap, but most importantly, if we get past the line of scrimmage, Warren Brinson really struggles with this, or at least he did last year. If he wants to increase his draft status, this is how you do it. Once we get past the line of scrimmage, we have to be able to come to balance so we can get horizontal once the back starts to make a cut. Because once you play at Georgia, man, like you got to imagine as a running back playing defense or playing the defense at Georgia, you're going to see a hole's going to close, and the only option is going to be to bounce left or right. The whole defense is designed to go east and west. So as a defensive lineman, once I get past and once I'm free, I have got to be prepared to go left or right because that's where the running back's going to take me. I'm with you. Big physical. I don't know if it's 100% a hit, but you got a freshman right there. Yeah. My question about that, and I think college football coaches' questions about that are going to be, do you continue to grow? Because once you go north of 6'5" and once you go north of 300 pounds, my butt says you're a tackle. You feel me?
Yep.
That is the limit. I like even the Thanos Stewart kid. This is going to sound like a hot take. I have concerns about Jakeem Stewart, despite the fact that he's dominated every camp he's ever been to, despite the fact that the tape is phenomenal, despite the fact that he is willingly and deservingly the number one player in 2025. I have questions about him because he's damn near 6'7". It's really, really hard not to give up your chest as a defensive lineman when you're that damn tall. Okay, because how do you play with a flat chest? How do you play? Now, granted, he has the longest wingspan of anybody on the field, so maybe he's into your chest before you're into his. That's a whole, labyrinth discussion. But there's only really been one 6'6" plus defensive tackle that's ever been an All-Pro in the league. You know who it is?
Was it Vince?
Huh?
Was it Vince Wilfork?
No, he wasn't 6'7".
Who was it?
It's Calais Campbell.
Ah, yes,
Calais Campbell. And then outside of that, ain't a lot of them,
right?
Like especially on that interior. There's some really, really tall, lanky edge rushers. Julius Peppers comes to mind. I think our boy that played for the Miami Dolphins was really, really tall.
Cameron Wake?
No, he's shorter guy. I'm talking about Jason Taylor. Jason Taylor was a 6'5" guy. I mean, Chris Jones is about as tall as they get right now in the NFL that is succeeding at the interior defensive line position. And hell, they play him on the outside a lot and rush him from the edge. So there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for tonight. Hey, man, we're over at 1,100 people on Twitter right now. We're over almost 260 people over on YouTube right now. If you have not already, show your love wherever you're at. Hit that retweet button on Twitter as you head out. Show it to more and more people. If you're watching us on Twitter and have not subscribed over on YouTube, head over, man. We're trying to convert you guys over there. All right, that is our home. And shout out to all you guys on YouTube that have been with us from the beginning. Love you. See you. Bye. Give it a 5 count.
Gotta find the damn mouse first.